We go. Good evening, everyone. The regular meeting for the City Commission for Tuesday, April 8th will come to order. Please join me in silencing your cell phones. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perrine.
Here.
Commissioner McGurk.
Here.
Commissioner Ashley.
Here.
Vice Mayor Martin.
Here.
Mayor Cleveland.
Here, ma'am.
Thank you.
And now, Police Department Chaplain Tom Personal will give the invocation. Please rise and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much that we get to live in this wonderful community. We're always so grateful for that, Lord, especially on a day like today. We can just feel your presence pouring down on us, Lord. Father, I pray that you would, we're thankful for these servants here, Lord, in front of us, these elected officials and appointed, and we're grateful that they give us their time. And we ask that you would give them the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to make the decisions that they need to make, Lord. Put your hedge of protection around them. Protect them from the fiery darts of the evil one. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
And now Isabel Sorcy, a sixth grader at Sacred Heart Catholic School. Her 12th birthday was 3 days ago. She's a talented daughter of Jen and Serge Sorcy. She will deliver and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. She embraces the importance of giving back to her community and is starting now.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Jen and Serge, you have a lot to be proud of. Congratulations. Thank you guys for showing the way for what good parenting is all about. Mr. City Manager, are there any changes to the published agenda?
Yes, sir. Just one change under proclamations. We will not be presenting a proclamation this evening. Other than that, everything is good.
Thank you very much. Under item 4 for announcements and recognitions, I've just got one thing to say to the crowd. How about them Gators? Congratulations to the University of Florida men's basketball team, champions. Mr. Manager, we're ready for your report, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of meetings that I want to make sure are on everybody's schedule. Wednesday, April 16th at the Brannan Center at 5:30, we have a public meeting concerning the flooding vulnerability assessment. On Thursday, April 17th, we have scheduled a City Commission workshop to discuss the Deering Park development again. That will be at 6 o'clock in these chambers, Thursday, April 17th. Monday, April 21st, we have our annual State of the City presentation. The Honorable Mayor will be presiding over that event. And then just a couple of announcements I wanted to make tonight. As you know, we have long had recommendations from various study groups concerning parking that we hire a parking director. I'd like to announce this evening that we have done that. We have extended an offer, and it has been accepted, to Steve Mendegrell. He is an Altamonte Springs resident, and he will be coming to us with extensive parking management experience, most recently at Disney Springs. So that is very exciting. He will be joining us May the 13th. And lastly, wanted to announce this evening that Chris Kirk has been selected as our next police chief. Chris is sitting in the back here. Chris has, this is really the result of a nationwide search that we've undertaken. We got many, many great applicants. Chris, as you know, has served as interim chief for the last couple of months and has done an outstanding job. We've successfully navigated through spring break, Bike Week, and many, many other community events. He has strong support from the police department, from the sworn officers, from the civilian employees there, strong support from the police union, from the police foundation, and many, many other members of the community. So certainly proud to make that announcement, and congratulations to Chris. And we will we will do a formal ceremony, a swearing-in ceremony, and that will be scheduled at some time in the very near future. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate that. Very, very good. So let's move on to the commission's favorite section here, public participation. We're excited to hear what you have to say about matters pertinent to the city. So if you have an idea, you have a concern, you have an accolade for any member of the city staff, we'd love to hear from you. This is not a question and answer ceremony. This will be a monologue, so we won't be answering questions. All you need to do is know that when you come forward, you'll have 3 minutes. When the green light comes on, you start. You don't need to take all 3 minutes, but when the yellow light comes on, there's 1 minute remaining, and then you need to be done when the red light comes on. For the record, when you come up, offer your name and your address for the record. If we need to get back to you, that's why we ask you that. And then on matters appropriate, the city manager or city clerk will get back to you. With that, please come forward and be heard.
Real quick, I don't want to use my time right now. Someone picked up a paper outside on the right side of the doors. It has my paperwork underneath it. So for the stuff that's being talked about tonight, if you look under your paper, there is an attachment that says e-bikes. If anyone has it, can you please give it to me?
You're looking for your paper?
Yes.
Okay.
I do want to come up, but
All right, that'll be fine.
Good evening. I'm Karen Mihal. This is my granddaughter, Zella Mihal. We live at 804 East 23rd Avenue. I stood before you about a month and a half ago, asking for help protecting our street and our children. My granddaughter was not able to play outside anymore because of what was going on. And we came tonight. You want to tell them thank you?
Thank you.
What are you thankful for?
Thank you for keeping our world safe.
So, we wanted to come tonight and tell you thank you to each of you for moving this forward so quickly and taking care of us in our city. So thank you.
Thank you, Grandma. Nice job. Professor, come forward.
My name is Crystal Saylor. I live at 645 Ball Street. I had emailed all of you with a couple of things. One of them was an article from Scientific American that took data from FEMA about the issues related to fill and build development, ongoing issues, not just here, all over the country, and that, doesn't seem to be going well. The first thing I'd like to say is I'd like to request that the first reading of the zoning change for the property owned by Farmington LLC with the planned Deering Park Innovation Center be postponed from the current scheduled time of April 22nd, 2025, so that we can have more workshops and citizen input. I see that you do have a workshop scheduled for the 17th. I am hoping that that's including a Q&A this time. I got lots of Qs. So I also included in that a summary of some math, you know that I love my math, about the implications of reducing the residential tax base. The idea was that the tax base could be reduced from 83% to some 63%, I think, was the number that I saw. So I took information from your annual comprehensive final report of 2023. That's what I found online. And the data was close enough that I feel really comfortable with it. Our residential tax base is over $5.27 billion. To drop that to 63% residential by increasing the combined commercial and industrial would require a more than 4 times the current value of existing commercial and industrial. We'd have to quadruple what's already there to reduce to 63%. To reduce it to 73% would require more than doubling the existing commercial and industrial, just so that we have some sort of relevance of comparison. I understand what Mr. Storch's job is. He's supposed to help his clients make as much money as possible from the property owned by Farmington North LLC. He does not represent the current or future residents of NSB. The City Commission represents those people. The current zoning of the 1,618 acres intended to be DPIC allows for 140 residential units. The proposed changes would create 2,510 residential units and up to 6 million square feet of non-residential development. Within that 1,618 acres, there's approximately 662 acres of wetlands, and of that, 327 acres would be impacted by the proposed development. I also sent a picture, a zone shot of development down south that they own and the clear cut. So my time's running out. I got a lot more I'd like to say, but thank you for the workshop that's going to be next week.
Thank you, Professor. Appreciate that. Appreciate your comments. Order. So, folks, we had the cheering for the Gators and the cheering for the grandma and her granddaughter. So let's try to conduct the rest of the evening in the business manner which we customarily do. So please refrain from the cheering and what have you. Jenny, good evening.
Hello, Virginia Stevens, 423 Flagler Avenue.
Mary Frances Stage, 380 Flagler Avenue.
And we are here representing FABA tonight. Please vote yes on item 7R on tonight's consent agenda. January is a slow month in New Smyrna, so 2,100 runners coming from 37 states give our bars, restaurants, shops, and hotels and motels a big preseason win as participants and their families stay and play on Flagler all weekend long.
We think that the small amount that we have to adjust for traffic is a small price to pay for everything this event brings in.
So the Flagler Avenue Business Association supports Shark Bite. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate your comments. Mr. Stevens.
Terry Stevens, owner with my wife's Virginia of the Seahorse Inn and resident of 810 Faulkner Street. I was once a runner. I ran races near and far. Running introduced me to hundreds of great communities that I have never visited and otherwise. Many I return to year after year. Some I vacationed at. One I moved to, this one. A runner gets to town on Friday. He brings his family. After checking in, he spends his time on Saturday seeing the communities and visiting the stores and restaurants. These types of events are important. Don't let a communication breakdown in the past stop an event like this from going forward. But make sure you work together to improve things. A little inconvenience for the sake of your community should be overcome. Once again, 500 runners from New Smyrna Beach, 1,200 runners from Volusia County, 2,100 runners total from 37 states. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Yes, ma'am. You're getting better. Almost knocked it out. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Lori. I live in Venetian Bay, 3310 Bellino Boulevard. And I'm here because I want to save my pool, and I'm asking all of you to help us. Have you ever seen my pool? The pool club, Tiki Bar? It's quite beautiful.
Lori, talk right in that microphone, dear.
Okay.
There you go.
I swim in this pool and I feel like I'm on vacation somewhere special. It is truly an oasis. Our pool gathered our neighbors together, gave us a place to escape to the hot summer heat. Our pool had weekend entertainment for us, whether it was listening to music, themed gatherings like 70s dance party, DJ dancing. It brought our community together. Our pool club had a kiddie pool for the little ones, a special place for the little ones to host their birthday parties and invite all their friends. Today, my pool club is closed thanks to GSAM. He made sure that 5 huge apartment complexes he built had a pool for the rentals. Meanwhile, he closed our pools, the property owners. For what I understand, he wants to turn our beautiful pool and tiki bar into a parking lot for his rentals to park on. Yes, he has a for sale sign up for sale or lease, but his lack of maintaining and upkeep on our pool has really deteriorated, and the mechanics of both our pools declined and are not working. The way GeoSam works is they do the lease maintaining and can get away with it. And everything is cracked, chipped, and broken. And he lets it get to a state of deterioration. Our common grounds are all weeds and grass. It takes GeoSam a very long time to fix problem areas as well. Since GeoSam came into Venetian Bay, my once elegant, first-class community has declined. How do I know this? Because I have seen what he has done to my community. The town center and all other parts of Venetian Bay that GeoSam's involved with is truly very sad for us homeowners. We brought into Venetian Bay's dream, and he truly has destroyed it. Our beautiful pool is closed. Our community has been suffering because of GeoSam. I ask you all, please help us to get our pool back and bring back our community and our once beloved Venetian Bay.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I want to thank the mayor and the city commissioners for being here. My name is Sean Salvi, 1208 Magnolia Street. I've lived here for over 7 years now. I'm up here to ask you to implement an ordinance related to requirements for Class 2 and Class 3 e-bikes that exceed 720 watts or more. I'm writing this letter in regards to the use and misuse of e-bikes. Total respect to everyone that does obey the laws in New Smyrna, Volusia County, and throughout Florida. The Class 2 and Class 3 e-bikes and the abuse of all public streets, roadways, and sideways and bike paths. I have witnessed them traveling down State Road 44, Canal Street, Flagler Avenue, and US 1 in the wrong lane, going in the wrong direction at high rates of speed, and weaving in and out of traffic with no regard to vehicular motor vehicles, pedestrians, or motorcycles. Since the inception of e-bikes for the use of commuting somewhere around 2019, there's been over a 500% increase in injuries nationwide. In New Smyrna Beach, per my own experience, homeless people have from firsthand knowledge of gaining information from area businesses that they are riding e-bikes intentionally these are homeless people, trying to get hit on our city streets and shopping centers. In some cases, they've had vehicle owners purchase them either new bikes or fix the bikes. That's from the most recent information as of this morning. One person telling me that the individual driver, that he took him to the bank and paid him $1,000 so he wouldn't call the police, even though the e-bike hit him. I'm asking the city of New Smyrna Beach to discuss this matter and to look at the data and implement a city ordinance to require a Florida driver's license and require appropriate insurance on any e-bike that has 500 watts, which can travel up to 25 miles an hour, and a Class 3 e-bike, which can go between 720 to 750 watts, that can travel up to and over 28 miles an hour. I'm requesting this because my golf cart only goes 17 miles an hour, but I'm required to have a driver's license and proof of insurance and registration. So I'm asking you to look at the data. Someone took my paperwork. I would have had it for you. I will get it to you, but I'm asking for the city commission to address this issue because it happens to everyone. No matter if they hit you, I've already contacted State Farm, they will pay the bike. They assume the vehicle is bigger, they will always pay the person on the bike. And I think that is totally wrong. Everyone I've talked to believes that is wrong, and I think that we need to implement some ordinance to make people accountable for riding these bikes against traffic, in the wrong lane, going in the wrong direction, with no safety equipment, no nothing. So I thank you for listening to me. I wish I had my papers, but again, I thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Mr. North, welcome.
Mr. Mayor, how are you?
Sir.
I'm Russ North. I'm here on behalf of the Lennox Center for the Arts. Am I allowed to hand out paperwork to you all?
Just to the,
Oh, okay.
hand it out to the clerk and we'll get them pressed.
Accolades, thank you all for supporting Lennox Center for the Arts. Images this year was the most successful Images we've had. We had the largest audience, the largest number of sales. It was very dynamic, and thank you all for that support. I really do appreciate it. We are at Lennox Center for Arts moving into what we call ACA Live. And ACA Live, we're testing it right now, is going to be a performance series of very high-level artists coming into the community to perform. This year, we're doing 3 performances on our campus. The 3 performances, as you can see there, are Nestor Torres, who is a Grammy-winning artist. He's coming in this weekend, and that's why I'm here. There's a permit coming in front of you for approval this evening for that concert. The concert's going to start at 5:30 when people get there. It will be shut down by 9 o'clock. But better than that, Nestor has agreed to go to the high school in town on Friday, is going to meet with the band. I don't know if you know this artist. He plays in a big band, Latin band. He's got 2 Grammys, amazing guy, and he loves kids. And then we're inviting the grammar school onto our campus that evening to meet him, anybody who plays an instrument, to come listen to him play, talk about the instrument. And then that evening, we have the concert where I think we have about 140 seats sold, something of that nature. There's going to be 3 concerts this year. The next one's the Opera Company, Grammy-winning artist again coming in. It's going to be evening of romantic music with dinner and great wine. And the last one is Ron, who is touring with Linda Ronstadt right this second, and he is up for a Grammy. His guitar playing is at the level of Eric Clapton. He is amazing. So those are the 3 we're starting with. If it works, we're going to expand. It won't be just on our campus. We want to come into the city. We might even look at Images as a music festival, also bringing Grammy artists in. But my main purpose was to let you know what we're doing and ask you to approve our permit so that we can have this concert this weekend. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Good luck, Russ. Mr. Lees.
Yes. Good evening. My name's Robert Leese. Bo Leese is my nickname, and I live on Riverside Drive, 1320 South Riverside Drive. I just wanted to put a plug in for Shark Bite. I didn't find it inconvenient at all. I love looking out there, seeing the runners, seeing the smiling faces, seeing the energy. And so I'm a big proponent of it. And as a resident of Riverside Drive, I wanted to make that point known to all of you. And I encourage you to vote in favor of keeping Shark Bite. The other is I'm on the Board of Trustees at the Atlantic Center for the Arts. And ACA Live, this is just the beginning. We are really looking to bring some great shows in. And I would also encourage you to, yes, vote on the permit for this coming weekend. Thank you all very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Evening, ma'am.
Good evening. My name's Gail Roberts. I live at 802 East 8th Avenue. What do these new Smyrna Beach events have in common? Shark Bite Race, Bike Week, Biketoberfest, Images, Wine Walk, Sip and Stroll, Chowder, Jambalaya, Taco, Mac and Cheese Challenges, Chili Cook-Off, Easter Services, Christmas Parade, Mardi Gras Parade, Boat Parade, St. Patrick's Day, Dog Fest, almost done, Art and Artesian Stroll, Classic Cars on Canal, Canal Street Nights, Flamingo Folly, Seaside Fiesta, Jazz Festival, Shrimp and Seafood Festival, the Farmers Market, and on and on and on. What do they have in common? Apparently, any of these signature events could be canceled. We live in a vibrant, active city, voted one of the 50 best beach towns in the South this year. The Shark Bite Race is one of the countless events that makes New Smyrna Beach a great place to live and visit. It involves many residents and participants from across the United States and abroad. Our hotels, restaurants, bars, and merchants profit from this production. Not only do we have hometown participants, but the streets are lined with spectators, many of them children. This race is about to be taken away from us because of the temporary inconvenience of some. Exactly how many residents have complained? Do they have a petition with numerous signatures on it? From what I have heard, most Riverside residents are in favor of the race passing by on their street. Don't we all have to be flexible at some point to allow special events to occur? The Shark Bite is not a surprise. The dates are put out in advance and there's plenty of time to make arrangements. Reportedly, other routes are being investigated. However, I feel that the safety of New Smyrna Beach residents and visitors is more important than a few disgruntled homeowners. If the chief of police has determined the current routes are the safest, I trust his judgment, and you should too. Obviously, if the Shark Bite race is canceled, it could pave the way for more cancellations of any or all previous mentioned events. With any large-scale production, there could be issues, but no bad press and serious incidents were recorded after the last race, and countless runners are already looking forward to the next race. Please reconsider not changing the route and allow the Red Point Shark Bite New Smyrna Beach Classic to occur. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Appreciate your remarks. Before Mr. Taylor speaks, if you're here for Shark Bite, would you please stand in the room? Okay, we get the idea. Thank you. Please be seated. We've got the idea. We've got the message. And so, if you have something that hasn't been brought up about Shark Bite, we'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, we're getting the message. Mr. Taylor, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We want no shark bites. No more shark bites.
Mr. Taylor, right up here. You're talking to us.
Yes, sir. Mr. Cleveland, I'm sorry. I'm here first on behalf of homelessness. The homeless situation, I was homeless myself. Let's put that out there front for us. I did it out of the standard of the overall goodness of the country for the lack of the last administration, the Biden administration, where we didn't want, these immigrants piling in our community here in New Smyrna Beach. So I understood that, and I was one of the guys there that lived in a tent on the river over there. But I did that for the overall well-being of the country and the city of New Smyrna Beach. And the reason I'm here today, although I'm running for mayor, I'm not announcing anything, but I'm just saying, homeless people are humans too. And I'd like to help find a better pathway back for the homeless folks that are not on drugs, that are not doing bad things, that are not doing things that are disruptive, that deserve to exist, besides a tent that's not allowed. But that's that. And then if you want to talk about flooding and this and that, and you want to talk about solutions, I'll tell you the solution to the flooding. The solution is, it's the rivers. We got an inlet and an outlet. When the tide comes up, the sand comes up. Over the years, it pounds, and we run out of limitations of sand. So what we need is to distribute that sand back onto the beaches, instead of it flooding our residents. You can go to JamesTaylorRealEstate.com and I'll sell you a stilt house if you need one. But if you want to know what the net result of the solution is, it's like a toilet. You got to have a flushing of the canals. And if you want to look into finding solutions, come talk to me. Other than that, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Thank you. Hello, Dave.
How are you doing, Fred Cleveland?
I'm doing good, Dave.
Hi, my name is Lorena Norvell, and I live at 700 South Riverside, and I think just about everybody knows my son, David. He lives with me, too. Mostly everybody has talked about Shark Bite as being part of this community, I'm coming at it from a different direction. My son has been in a car accident. He has about 1/10 of his brain. They said he would never walk or talk or eat. We have struggled for a very long time getting him back to where he is now. He is a responsible young man. He works. He exercises all the way out on 44. He rides his bike everywhere. But he will always be a brain injury. And making friends is very difficult for special needs kids. I'm just telling you as a mom. He has a wonderful group. Shark Bite. Everybody take a look. Kissing him I am a mother first. I am fighting for my son's identity. This is part of who he is. You take this away, you take away something that he has a dream. He always completes it. He always feels like he has earned something. You will defeat him by taking this away. And I do not want him to ever think that he cannot overcome anything. So please, from a mother's heart that has struggled for 33 years, don't take this away from him. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Rena. Appreciate your remarks. Good to see you, Dave.
Good evening. My name is, sorry, I'm very short.
There you go.
My name is Kelly Hubbard, and I reside at 636 North Riverside Drive. And I had this amazing speech that I will spare you from because a lot of it has already been covered. The only thing that I wanted to add in relation to the Shark Bite activities is that these activities give the New Smyrna Beach High School Barracuda XC and track team an opportunity to make money. And for any of you that are parents that have children in sports, you know how absolutely expensive it is. And so some of this money offsets the expenses that parents have to take, that parents have to deal with. I think it's important to note that some of these kids would not run if we didn't have these types of fundraisers that could help them raise money for their kids to participate in these sports. So I just thought that it was important to bring that up. The coach was going to be here to talk about that, but he asked me as a board member to attend. So thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your remarks. Hi, Cindy.
Hi. I'm Bonnie Davenport, 117 Fran Drive in New Smyrna. Hurricane season will be here before we know it. I live in Ellison Acres. My family has lived here since 1966, so we have seen many changes west of town and been through many hurricanes. I have attended both city and county council meetings since my home flooded from Hurricane Ian's major flooding of my whole neighborhood. If I have learned anything from attending all of these meetings, it is this: the development and expansion that began several years ago along the Highway 44 corridor has impacted the older community's drainage capabilities beyond acceptability. No thought was given of what the impact would be on the enclave neighborhoods when trees are cut down and wetlands are filled and paved over. Infrastructure may have been designed for the newly developed housing developments and businesses and adequate for normal rainwater drainage, but when seasonal heavy rains and hurricanes occur, the storm water is still seeking our lower communities and flooding our yards, our homes, and our roads. That became tragically obvious with Hurricane Ian. My home had 30 inches of water inside and the roads were impassable. Rescue crews were not able to reach our neighborhood in a timely way to rescue some of my neighbors until 10 p.m. Tragically, one of my neighbors had fallen and drowned inside his home. I escaped my flooded home with my 90-year-old mother only because my brother fought his way through the storm and was able to reach my house. He could not carry my mother through the deep floodwater, so he put her on a surfboard and floated her to safety. It took 8 months and some very costly repairs before I was able to return home. Hurricane Milton also caused flooding in my neighborhood, and I imagine this will happen every time we get heavy rain, because who will take accountability for our flooding? The city says that it's not their problem because we're unincorporated. The county so far has done nothing in our area to help our drainage system. Respectfully, I appreciate the suggestion that we apply to Transform 386 or the Elevate Florida program for assistance. But personally, I have already accepted FEMA funds and taken an SBA loan to repair my home, in addition to using my own personal savings. I cannot afford to go into debt any further. I'm retired and I live on a fixed income, as most of my neighbors do. What I need and what my community needs is the same consideration for the future of our properties that our surrounding newer developments are getting. I realize that I am in an unincorporated area, but there needs to be accountability for the drainage problems and the flooding in Ellison Acres. I propose a challenge. Extend your hands across the boundaries between the city and the county and show the people of our communities that you care about its residents, no matter whose boundaries we live in. We are all in this together.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your remarks. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Mr. Hodges, welcome.
Carl Curtis Hodges, 620 Riverside Drive, and the owner of the new venue in New Smyrna Beach. Now was the Women's Club, now it's called the Magnolia. And I just want to give you guys a little update and thank you for the opportunity to improve this building, and I am proud of it. If I had a wallet on me right now, I'd like to pull out photos and show them like you guys show of your kids, and I am having a great time. And I've really found out one thing special about the building. Everyone that works on the building feels like they have the same pride that I have, and you see it in their face, you see it in their work. They sand the woods down so perfect. And then people come in and talk to them about it, and they're just beaming. You know, you would not know that I own the building. You would think they are so happy, and they talk to people and tell everybody. So I want to thank y'all again, and I would love for you guys, if you'd like, or ladies, if you'd like to stop by and see the building sometime, I'd love to show you what's coming along. And I plan on making the city proud. Thank you.
Thank you for your work, Curtis. We're proud of you. Mr. Wilson, good evening.
Palmer Wilson, 101 Donlin Drive. I'm a retired detective lieutenant from a large metropolitan police force, as well as a retired U.S. Army lieutenant colonel with over 29 years of active and reserve military law enforcement service. I followed that with 25 years of professional law enforcement management consulting at all government levels throughout the United States. And yeah, I'm an old guy. I serve on both the City Police Pension Board and the Charter Review Committee, my way to give back to the city. I have been a resident of Donlin Drive for over 20 years, and I'm one of the people who complained about how the 2025 race was handled by the promoter and the city police. While I'm not opposed to the race, the incident this year that involved me, and which was inaccurately described by the promoter in his Monday email to the commission, was created by failures of the promoter's team as well as the police to some degree to honor what was understood to be the 2023 city commitment to assist homeowners in the 4 streets that dead end east off of South Riverside Drive to gain access to their homes. I was merely following what I think that commission felt was the resolution of the problem and proper procedure. Further, the promoter's email does not correctly describe the response as volunteers or employees, including the flashing of an inappropriate finger gesture at me in the presence of my wife. Nor does it make clear that the last rally participant was walking several blocks north on Riverside, approaching 6th Street when I arrived at the scene from 8th Street. There were no runners anywhere near Donlin. By the time the police officer arrived, there were no runners on the street, period. The race was essentially over in front of Donlin Drive, but neither his staff nor the police officers would move the cones so I could make a right turn on Donlin to get to my house. I finally gave up waiting for them to clear the table and cones blocking access and made a right turn off of Riverside Drive well south of the table area and directly onto my own property. The point of this is apparently there was gaps in the planning and execution of the race. It's understandable that the promoter is upset and worried about losing this given the impact of financial benefit. I also note that my email and phone number and emails to the city are always present, but I've never heard from this promoter in any way to ask what my issue was. I decided to be constructive rather than emotional and do some research to see if I could work with city staff to find common ground to improve the response to resident needs. But we must remember these problems are long-standing, and as a result of my research, I found out they also impact Beachside. We were successful in getting 2 changes that should reduce the amount of time Riverside Drive is closed off. I look forward to more adjustments as the city staff continues with their plans for 2026. But I caution that events such as this side require constant review with a focus balancing the needs of both residents and the runners, and I hope the commission and city staff agree. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Detective Wilson. Appreciate your comments. Evening, Mr. Blueback. How are you, sir?
Doing fine, thank you. Good evening to all. I have 4 items to mention. One is we're certainly anxious to see what the result of the modeling of the study for the stormwater activity that's going on at the center. I just wanted to note a couple of things with respect to that. One is that we decided to take a trek over to Samsula side of the Samsula Canal to look what they had. And it was just incredible the amount of flooding that they had, and we hope that it would be reflected in the modeling that's going on. The second item is you have scheduled a workshop for Deering Park on the 17th of April. It's about time to have a town hall talking about Venetian Bay. We have the good and the bad to tell you. We have lessons learned to tell you. I put together probably about 6 pages of lessons learned of what we did and what we should have done. And to complement that with a visit to our facility, to our campus, to see what actually happened. You've heard a little bit about the pool in the town center. That's one of about 6 issues that we have there. Parking is one. And while it's recognized to be a solution within the Venetian Bay community, it in fact was brought about because of a decision that was made by this commission. And lastly, since the mayor presented accolades for the Florida Gators men basketball program, I'd like to identify that the University of Connecticut women's program the day before won their 12th national championship, unprecedented. Certainly validating that Storrs, Connecticut, a little old hick town, is adequately recognized as being the basketball capital of the world. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Joe. Go UConn. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Patricia Scott. I live at 112 Eddy Road, New Smyrna Beach, Florida, unincorporated area, Ellison Acres. Live right across the street from that shell pond, you know, where Harley Davidson shop used to be and everything. One of the things that I have to share with you, living in an enclaved area is a very frustrating thing. Ellison Acres really needs to be looked at, and it's not just by the county. It's got to be by the city, because you guys got to be held accountable for the water that is coming from the city that is ending up on our property. Those businesses over there, I don't think the pipes have been ever checked or anything. And there are pipes inside that shell pit. And they need to be cleaned out. Not only that, the county put in pipes over by us that go nowhere. They soak in an area that floods, which doesn't make absolutely any sense whatsoever. That water needs to go somewhere else. Now, I sit across the street. I can look out my window And I can see every time we flood. The first time of an Ian, it came across the street, not at 10 o'clock like everybody else did. Guess what? That pond was over on my side by 4 o'clock in the morning. By 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd already called my flood insurance, okay? Now, everybody else seemed to flood between 9 and 10. I have proof because I took pictures. At 7:55, I had a picture of the inside of my house. It already had this much water in it. During Milton, again, I cleaned my whole house up, fixed it up. I'm retired. I'm getting tired of it. You guys have got to start helping us on your side. You're doing it with Corbin Park. You're getting together to do stuff. You need to go all the enclaved areas. You need to all work together to fix what's happening around us. You can't just keep building without working together to fix everything. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Thank you so much.
Hi there, my name is Jean. My address is Press, however, I am a city resident. I am also here for the shark bite in a positive light. It's been said enough. I don't need to reiterate that. I think they did a nice, eloquent job saying it. And I also liked what the detective said as well. It just shows that maybe a little bit of work needs to be done. And if this chief is as good as you think he is, now's his chance to take care of that. I believe we stuck in traffic longer over that crash on the bridge than we ever have for the shark bite. So now's his chance to take care of that. The other question I had, and I don't know if I missed this because I haven't seen it. I tried to look. If it is not a code or to be enforced, addresses on the beach side facing the beach should be indicated on all buildings and condos. It is required by Volusia County. I know the beach is Volusia. Volusia County requires it from all of the residents, but our section does not have them. So whether you are requiring it and nobody's following up or it hasn't been required yet, I'm not sure. It's a huge safety thing. If somebody is, especially with all the people we get here from out of town, somebody's in the water, they don't know where they are, they need to call for help, they look around and they say, I'm in front of a condo. So if we can get anybody who is on that, especially South Atlantic, anywhere down there, get the numbers of those buildings to be printed, just like the county is making everybody do. And if you're ever down beachside in the county, you can see they're plain as day. You know exactly where you are. If you look up in any kind of emergency, somebody drops, somebody's drowning, somebody's bit by a shark, you can say, I'm in front of 872. Whatever that number is, we really need to make an effort to make that happen.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Dr. Herman, good evening.
Randy Herman, 108 Esther Street. Good evening, Mayor, city staff, and the commission. I'd like to talk about two things tonight. The first is a hard one for me. I hate the saying, don't cry after spilt milk, because it's too late. But Friday, when I drove by the Oakweiler devastation of the property behind Publix, I really did. I cried. I have never seen such horrific devastation of a piece of property. I can't imagine what happened to the wildlife. Certainly we know what happens to the trees and all the flora and fauna. I've always believed if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And I was part of a large number of citizens who met, if you remember, many, many times with the previous developer to come up with a plan that was a win-win that preserved a lot of the trees and produced a development of about 40 units. I don't know what happened, how it went to 80 units. I don't know how they were able to destroy all that in one fell swoop. But please go by there. It is shocking to me that this kind of development can go on after what we know has been happening in other places. And I'll come back to that because I think there's a connection. But I have to say it was one of the saddest moments I've had in a long time. Secondly, I'd like to speak to the item 11A on first reading, which is the repeal and replacement of section 604.04 and 604.051, tree preservation and land development regs. I want to applaud the city for doing this hard work. It is a very dense document, and parts of it are beyond me of even understanding, but it's well needed and it was well done. But there are a few things that I do worry about. One is when the second reading comes next time, I hope the city will present in detail the essence of these changes, and especially the exceptions. There is authority given to certain people to make exceptions. That could render the majority of these well-thought changes null and void. So please explain those exceptions, and I really recommend that the monthly report be made to the city manager if exceptions are granted to those very good changes that have been presented in that change. The last thing, I'm really pleased to see so many people tonight. I know Commissioner Perrine commented at the city workshop that she gets a little tired of people like me coming on a regular basis. And tonight we had a great cross-section of our community come in on a variety of issues, and thank you for hearing them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments.
Good afternoon, Mayor and staff. My name's Stuart Hughes here. I'm a lifelong resident since 1959 and co-owner at 180 Cariota Court in Venetian Bay. I'm also a homeowner at 3630 State Road 44 and a co-owner of Pampas Nursery in Samsula. I was also instrumental in helping start Spark the Spirit on Canal Street by recovering the old star that was the old Fort water tower over there. And I put on top of that, I worked for the Utilities Commission for keeping the lights on for 30 and a half years. And this year will mark the 70th anniversary of the star being lit on the tower. So I think y'all should take a little consideration to, I could come up, I used to have a little suit I'd put on, said Spirit Starter, and maybe you saw me down there, I don't know. But since I've retired, but I would be willing to get up and say a few words about it at the event if you'd like. So you can get a hold of me if you want. My main concern is, number one, why was Venetian Bay allowed to create all these overflow weirs in some of the retention ponds on the west side of the development and discharge the outfall basically into all the wooded area that leads to the Samsula Canal? This large drainage canal was started in 1917 by the Lake Ashby Drainage District, and the Volusia County Council in December 1st of 2010 was assumed control over that. The takeover was part of a broader effort by the county to streamline the drainage management and ensure effective water resource management. The sole purpose of the drainage district was established to manage water flow and prevent flooding in the area. Of course, the upcoming Deering Park will put a burden on the Samsula Canal as it can't handle the current volume of water during even just a big rain event, never mind a hurricane. Moving forward, our westerly community would be grateful if this council would help work out something with the county by approaching Venetian Bay and GeoSam, possibly by acquiring an easement or a right-of-way on the east side of the Samsula Canal between Highway 44 and Pioneer Trail. That's where the canal was dug, and it was dug in 1917, so it was way before any of our time. But it needs to be maintained, and it hasn't been maintained. And I know that's the county's problem, but if you could give a little pressure there, you know, because that's what everything from I-95 that way flows to the Samsula Canal. And I also saw Senate Bill number 810, which is about stormwater management systems. This bill would require cities to inspect their stormwater systems every year and sign a division of emergency management attesting to the state of those systems. I heard the bill had possibly been revised and would no longer require an annual inspection. I was wondering if you could follow up on that to inform the residents if that bill is in fact still going to be pushed through, or if they're going to modify it, or just, you know, throw the monkey on everybody else's back, you know. Thank you.
Appreciate your remarks, sir. Thank you. Evening, Ms. Harris. Take your time, Ms. Harris. We're waiting. No problem.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to, my name is Patricia Blake Harris. I'm at 524 Myrtle Avenue, and I'd just like to make an announcement about the flood assessment meeting on Wednesday night. Be there with your location that you had the flooding so that we can map out those areas on the big map that they're going to have there. I've been trying to follow that with the transformation group, and this is our own city government group. And so we need to be there to point out, just like the ladies were saying, how deep was your water and how we can improve our stormwater drainage in our little tiny town of New Smyrna Beach. And I want to give a compliment to Mayor. He did come out to see us in our neighborhood, and he wore his boots and he wore his sun hat, and so he was ready to walk the walk. So we pointed out those areas, and guess what I saw today? A big old backhoe tractor at the drainage ditch. So I don't know what angel brought that backhoe out, but I wanted to thank you for taking care of that if you were the angel.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. I appreciate your remarks.
Have a good
We'll
evening.
give that to David Ray.
There was your...
Thank you, ma'am.
I think she found her notes. Cindy Sneezak, 512 Yukon. I was not able to attend the Charter Review Committee meeting, but I was able to watch a rerun of it, and I'm glad that we filmed it. It was posted as an organizational meeting, and for the most part, that's how the first 50% of the meeting went. And it was good attendance. Only 2 members were absent, and on the next meeting, I guess another one's already knowing they're going to be absent. But the meeting went far beyond being an organizational meeting, and that's the only reason I'm speaking to you today. I thought the energy of the participants was great. The 11 people, well, the 9 that were there, but I know some of the others too. The 11 people that were selected, I think, will do a fair and reasonable job. There's just some things I'd like to bring to your attention. And so here's it by the numbers. 7. 7 is the number of times the facilitator referenced a list that represented the needs of items that needed to be looked at. A list, she said, she was given by the city attorney. 7. That was 7. 8. Now I'm getting confused. Oh, so that's 7. 11. 11 was the number of minutes, believe it or not, once they got past organizational items, that the group spent discussing the preamble, notably whether a word should be inserted or not. Kind of weird, you know, something as a professional facilitator I wouldn't have expected had gone on that way, but, you know, we air items. And 7 minutes is the amount of time the body spent considering the first item on the attorney's list and making a motion and voting that they would like to see a change on that item. Now, mind you, this was posted as an organizational meeting. 8 is the number of minutes that the committee, bless their heart, spent rethinking the vote they had taken and walking it back because they probably figured out, or they did realize they weren't comfortable making decisions in the absence of all the information and going beyond the bounds of an organizational meeting. So I expect a facilitator to facilitate, and that includes providing a guideline and process for decision-making, airing options and gaining consensus. And consensus isn't 100% agreement, but it means no disagreement. I also know that everyone has a role to play in the charter committee group, so I would ask you this, and I'm going to run out of time. I would ask you to review the role expectations of the facilitator to see if she's doing what we're paying for, affirm the city attorney's ability to stay in her lane and not try to direct the meeting, and consider a rollback of the votes that were taken inappropriately at that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else for public participation? Seeing none, public participation is now closed. Thank you very much for your participation tonight. We're going to move on to the consent agenda now. Item 7, there are 19 items on the consent agenda. Do any of my colleagues wish to comment on any of those items? Yes, ma'am.
Well, we've got, we know 7E and the shark bite for comment.
For comment only, okay. All right, very good. So let me take a whack at this. Anybody want to pull any items on there?
Pull 7R.
7 Romeo. All right. All right. And Lisa, you want to talk on E, Echo? Is that right?
Let me do a double check on that.
That's the sidewalk.
Yeah, the sidewalk count.
All right.
That's right.
Anybody else for pulling or comment? Okay, so let's have the comment on item 7E for those of you watching and listening. Is a sidewalk cafe agreement for Beach and Burritos restaurants located at 431 Canal.
Just want to say I'm exceptionally fond of sidewalk cafes. However, many of our sidewalk agreements find it difficult to consistently comply with the 5-foot clear passage. Wheelchairs can't get through and people walk in the streets. So while I'm looking forward to Beach and Burritos, I do hope the city will monitor this and other cafes for the compliance to make sure that people can actually, and wheelchairs can actually use the sidewalk.
Really good. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, I'd like to pull item 7 Gulf, 7G. And so we've got 2 to pull. And let's see. I would then entertain a motion to approve item Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta Echo Foxtrot Hotel India Juliet Kilo Lima Mike November Oscar Papa Quebec Sierra.
So move.
A motion. Second. Second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Ashley?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. So let's take up, we'll start with G, item 7G. I've been in touch with the SYC. The question is about the efficacy of their engineering solution, and they have requested that we defer. So, Madam City Attorney, make sure I get the words right here. I'd like to continue to a date certain, which is a month from, so the first meeting in May, so a month. What date is that?
May 13th.
Okay, so I'd like to continue to a date certain, and I think that requires a vote.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll move that. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, any further discussion? It will reveal itself when the find and the yacht club come back and see us again, but they're not ready. The leadership has asked that we defer. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Ashley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, on to the item 7 Romeo. It's considered the approval of the Shark Bite Expo Feeding Frenzy 5K half marathon on Saturday, 17th of January 26, and Sunday, the 18th. Commissioner Perrine.
Looks like Rob's up here to talk first.
Well, I defer to you, and
Okay.
you can take the lead.
Sure. Didn't want to take away your thunder. So a lot of the emails we received were about the runners being concerned we were going to cancel this race. But if they've been following us since 2023, we've had issues with certain communications between this promoter, staff, and our police force. As you heard the one gentleman say, there was an incident this year, and safety is our most important issues with this. I really don't understand the map very well, because sometimes we allow streets to be closed one lane and sometimes we don't. So I think the map would be helpful to both of us if we could understand that better. And then the other thing, in advance, if we have the promoter contact us up here versus reaching out to their runners saying we're going to cancel the race, would be really beneficial in pulling public records because we know our zones and we know the issues, and some of these issues have been going on for a while now. So I'm disappointed that we had so many people say we're going to cancel this race when that wasn't the issue at all. The issue you heard from the one gentleman is there was a communication failure, and we don't want our city to have issues and runners ran over. We don't want our residents not to be able to get to their own homes. And yes, they're inconvenienced, and yes, they know this in advance, but all of this is important. They're taxpayers. And then the other thing is we need to be mindful of all of this. This is all important. And 2 weeks ago, for them to say that, you know, to get over it, no, I'm going to put this back on the promoter and say we want communication to be better. We want the race, but not how it's been handled, because there's a lot of promoters out there. So if we don't get these issues resolved, then we'll look somewhere else.
Thank you. Any other of my colleagues have comments? Yes, Commissioner Martin, go ahead.
Okay, I'd just like to say that I understand that whatever errors took place in the past last year, they seem to have been taken care of. So hopefully we won't have many of the same problems that we did last year. And my understanding is that we have now agreed that there will be notifications preferably no less than 2, preferably 3 days ahead of these races, so that the residents can prepare for the races. And I think it's going to be electric signs along our major thoroughfares. But that way, citizens will know what's coming and can prepare accordingly. Is that accurate?
I will give the update I have, and then I'll let Chief Kirk and Joe, the organizer, speak to their updates as well. Will that sound okay? All right, so...
Anybody else? I know you're dying to get
No,
started.
you're fine.
Anybody else? All right, and just so everybody knows, we have received a barrage of email. 99% of it don't take our 5K away. And so I don't know that was ever contemplated, but it was interesting that was the propaganda that was started. And so as Commissioner Perrine has said, that's a lot of energy, a lot of people worried about stuff. Our attention is on this, and we want to make sure it is the best outcome for all the residents. That's why Director Salazar is in charge of it, and that's why we're going to resolve it so that it is the best solution for everyone. With that, Rob, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. So over the last 2 weeks since the March 25th meeting, I have been working with the organizer and PD to facilitate a win-win solution to address a lot of the issues raised. We have gone back and forth with the organizer, and we have agreed to move the start time up from the 9 a.m., which was initially proposed, to 8 a.m. The police department has also met with the organizer, and we've come up with a plan to deploy water barricades at the intersections of the impacted route with a police vehicle trailing the last runner to act as a vehicle barricade. The roads that are closed will be opened strategically as the last runner passes. Let's see. Following the last race participant moving north onto Riverside Drive, the water barricades, which have closed 5th through 8th, will be drained and moved, making the streets accessible to the residents. The course closure will be moved up to 5th at that point. Chief Kirk and Sergeant Helms have reviewed the proposed alternate route. This was mentioned earlier during public participation, and have landed on the original proposed route being the most appropriate for this type of event. So they're in favor of keeping it at that route. I would defer public safety questions to Chief Kirk. But that's kind of where we've landed. Our city manager has helped with some of these issues as well. So this has been a collaborative effort from staff trying to work and administer the different moving parts that have been raised as concerns for this. So with that, I can field any questions, or if we have questions for Chief or the organizer, we can address those as well.
Yes, go ahead, Lisa.
I'm just wondering, you said that the police car follows the last runner. Who is responsible for removing the barricades to open up the road after that last runner?
Chief Kirk, would you? Okay.
Good evening. Just some points of clarification for Rob. So what we've discussed is in an effort to try to get the road open as quickly as possible, but also keep runners and vehicles separate. The intention, as you guys have seen, as we approve all of these events, we're now going into much more significant hardening of these areas to try to present greater barriers to any kind of tragedies that could occur. So at the end of Riverside there at 8th, the intention is to fill a water barricade as the race gets kicked off, and that'll be drained by the police officer that's stationed there as soon as the last runner has turned. So obviously that takes a couple minutes for that to drain, and then as that last runner moves up beyond 5th, the officer will drag that out, move it up, and then they have volunteers that'll unblock all of the side streets that are put on along the way there.
So the officer gets out of his car and goes and drains the or takes the barricade? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the chief or for the?
I had a couple of questions by residents of why some of the streets were decided to be closed. I think Saxon is closed till 10:30, and also some of the streets had one-lane closures, like North Causeway, but some did not. How do you determine the safety?
It depends on the street itself, the width of the street, and whether there's an available sidewalk or anything like that. So Saxon in the entirety is not closed. There is a portion of Saxon closed that is from 3rd to the end of the CVS there. And that's because when you round the corner there, there's no sidewalk. So they've stopped vehicles and runners from intermingling there, but then as soon as you get beyond the CVS there, it jogs back to a sidewalk again. So that's open, and all of the avenues down Saxon are open.
I would have a question about that, because there are mostly sidewalks to 8th Avenue, but not consistently. We know that there's nothing between CVS and the first Walters, or the first house built on Saxon. That has no sidewalk. You have to cross Saxon to get to a sidewalk, and then you go down Saxon for a while, and hopefully by then Oakweiler will not impede that. But then you have to cross back over to the west side for the sidewalk, which is past, I guess, about 8th Street. So it's, if you're depending on sidewalks, at best it's going to be a jog, 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 jog.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so.
And that's why after we close the area that doesn't have the option, those open back up so they can parallel that. And then, like you asked, on North Causeway, I think a portion of South Atlantic, it's bike lanes or emergency lane kind of areas that are blocked so that runners have a de facto sidewalk area that they can run in.
That's very helpful. I appreciate all the help, and let's hope this year is better than last year. I don't want to, my phone was blowing up the entire weekend from that race, and Saturday all day long, and I wish somebody would have picked up the phone and called me, but thank you guys for all the work you've done on it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. I would then entertain a motion to approve item 7, Romeo, the special event that we've been discussing for both Saturday, the 17th, and Sunday, the 18th of January, 2026. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any other discussion? Madam City Clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Ashley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martin?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes, thank you. Motion passes. Okay, that's on to Section 9. We've finished up the consent agenda. There are no administrative or new business items, but we do have quasi-judicial hearings. And so a quasi-judicial hearing will be conducted to approve a special exception to allow a boat/RV storage facility to operate in the B3 zoning district located at 666 Dora Street. The quasi-judicial hearing is now open. We're going to first hear from our senior planner, Mr. Baker.
Yes, we have a special exception to allow a boat and RV storage facility in the B3 zoning district at 666 Dora Street. We have applicant Jennifer Cornelius, 307 Columbus Avenue, New Smyrna Beach, representing property owner, NSB Boat and RV Storage LLC, same address, it's the same person. Request special exception approval to allow a boat and RV storage facility to operate in the B3. The property is located on the west side of Dora, between Dora and Pecan, with a little bit south of Wayne. So here we go. Here is the location, more or less. As you see, it's 3 lots south of Wayne. The railroad tracks to the west on the other side of Pecan there, and then on the other side right is US 1 right there. This is from the street. You can see that there is a house to the south, and then to the north there's also a house on the other side of this as well. Now, outdoor storage of vehicles in the B3 is allowed, a special exception, which is why we're here. There is a specific criterion in the B3 that states this: outdoor display, storage, or sale of vehicles or other equipment or material, provided that in the interest of safety to children and adjacent property, outdoor storage areas will be encompassed by a fence or wall at least 6 feet high, the bottom of 4 feet being solid and the top 2 feet being open. So as you can see there, this is kind of a chain link and a split rail fence. So it doesn't meet that requirement right now. This was put in, as you noticed, there was a house that used to be here before. The house was taken down. They applied for a fence permit, and the fence permit for a general house in this neighborhood or even a business is a different requirement than what you go for this boat and RV storage, because you have a buffer and you're also required to have this fence requirement. So they put a fence in basically that doesn't meet our special exception regulations. Again, this is the survey we had. You see it's 100-foot wide. These were the houses that were structures that were on here before. As I noted, there is a front buffer landscape along Dora and Pecan of 5 feet. Now the fence is set off 5 feet off both of those up from the property line, so they can put the vegetated buffer along there. And unfortunately, the fence is directly on the property line. So there's no real ability now to put the landscape buffer on the outside of the fence because it's on the property line. So we're kind of, you're reviewing not just the use in this case, but you're also trying to determine how to go forward with the situation that we already are facing here right now. There are also 3 specific criteria that all special exceptions must meet. Number 1, the requested use is listed among the special exceptions in the district. Yes, it is. B, the requested use will not impair the character of the surrounding or adjoining districts, nor be detrimental to the public health, morals, or welfare. This one in particular, right now, as it stands, basically there are no trees on the lot yet. That's a requirement, which they've agreed to meet. The stormwater system right now, they put shell down, but and we have a rudimentary plan that actually our own engineering department kind of drew for them, but isn't finalized yet. So that still needs to get worked on. And then, as I've mentioned, right now, the buffering between the homes and the boats and trailers and everything else, right now, it's a fence. So what they have is drawn up is kind of like their original concept plan, which shows, bringing in landscaping would be along the inside line of the fence. And, your entrance, and ingress is off Pecan, and then cars won't be, and trailers won't be going off Dora. And then this situation, I have a little concern about the landscaping being maintained on the inside, and it's kind of like, it's to meet the intent of it, to put up a barrier instead of this solid wall. And then this is kind of the rudimentary little design that Jesse and our engineering department drew up for them to kind of show how this stormwater system is going to have to operate. Now, their initial plan, there's two different options here. As I mentioned, they had the landscape buffer. They had talked about planting clusia, which I took this picture off the internet here. But that's basically, when it's full grown, this would be kind of how it would look. So if that is one option for you to consider on this. To meet it, the intent of it, it has to be 4 foot tall when it goes in. The other option that they've also put out there is the idea of basically attaching the screening, which is our lower picture, which would kind of, instead of being a solid body fence, it would be screened. So you'd have a 4 foot solid fence, but again, you wouldn't have the landscape buffer on the outside. And I noticed you're required to have 1 tree for every 2,500 square feet, so they have to put 7 trees on there, which their plan that they showed has them in the Dora Street and Pecan Street frontages. We did receive 2 calls on this. One was from a neighbor kind of across the street, and I think down a little bit. They were concerned about noise and boats and RVs potentially pulling out of the lot, and the other one was kind of concerned about fire flow on the street in case anything were to happen with any of these boats and fire. I know we did a pre-app kind of after the fence was in with these, and the fire marshal had noted there's only a 2-inch line down the street right there, which if there was a building put in, it would, in that state, would be inadequate to actually meet the flow, and there had to be upgrades to the system for that. But I don't think that applies necessarily to an open. So like he said that to himself. He said it doesn't apply to open, but if there was a structure built there, it would be inadequate for that. They have said they're only bringing in trailers and small boats. There's no intention for RVs. So I'm kind of, as I said, this isn't just the use here. You guys got to consider kind of almost like a site plan. Like it's kind of like a variance case as well a little bit for you guys here. So again, the required 3 foot wide landscape buffer is supposed to be on the outside of the fence. Thus, the fence would have to be at least 3 feet into the side property lines to accommodate that. It is, it's along the side property line, and it does meet the front, that front being Dora and Pecan. And noted, the fence is required to be encompassed by a fence or wall at least 6 feet high. It doesn't meet this right now. So again, it's kind of up to you guys more or less to decide, do you want to go with a solid body fence? Do you want to do this clusia buffer? Do you want to make them move the whole fence over and put the buffer on the outside? You've got some decisions to make there. And then you want to go with the clusia, as I mentioned, or again, you could do the attaching of the installing of the screen. The Planning and Zoning Board reviewed this. They voted 4-1, but they were kind of like, well, let's make sure that the site plan, because it still has to go through a site plan process afterward, and they have to meet the storm water and make sure the landscaping meets the code and everything else. So they voted 4-1, but kind of stressed that the site plan would have to be followed, and these were the conditions that they had looked at. Develop a landscape plan that includes a vegetative buffer, at least 4 feet in height, when planted, or add a 4 foot tall fence outside the Visible Bay Triangle along Dora and Pecan Street. Add the trees to meet the minimum requirements and meet the engineering department's requirements for stormwater system on the parcel. I know it's kind of an unusual situation, so if you have any questions for me, I'm here. I know the applicant is here as well.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Appreciate those words, Jake. My colleagues with questions? Yeah, Commissioner McGurk.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple of things. We've had a few of these. The code, I think if I understood you, means that the first 4 foot you can't see through, and then the existing, and then from 4 to 6 foot is you can see through it.
Opaque or trellis, some kind of cross or something along those lines. What they have now would meet.
So it's never made sense to me. I think when we're talking about something like this, or the roofing company or something that we've done this with, I think a 6 foot high fence that you cannot see through would be a good standard to start at. So I would do a 6 foot fence that you can't see through, period, not split it up. I don't see the value in that. The other thing is, I think I'd like to see the landscaping on the outside of the fence. I also question, what do you call this plant that was?
It's called clusia.
Clusia.
Yeah.
I think I know it as the autograph plant, which is a little less. Now, I will tell you this. I when I did my own project, I became very familiar with landscaping, much more than I ever thought I would in my life. I love that plant. It's a beautiful plant. It fills in really well, but it does very poorly up here. For some reason, landscapers, it's not in this zone. And a lot of people are planting things that are gonna die as soon as we have a hard freeze. And we're gonna have it again very soon. Landscapers are gonna make a lot of money one day when we have a freeze, because for some time now, people have been planting tropical foliage and landscaping that is not zoned for this area. I would recommend podocarpus, which is historically been used, and you can keep it short, you can grow it 15 feet high, you can shape that to be as tight of a hedge as you can imagine. So when I look at this, I can support it, but I want to see a 6-foot-high fence you cannot see through, with the landscaping being podocarpus on the outside. And is it going to need to be irrigated?
It would have to be irrigated.
Okay, good, because any landscaping that has any intention on actually staying around needs to have irrigation.
Now, part of their initial application is they wanted to go, from what I understand from them, they wanted to go solid. But of course, you have homes on either side of this, and it was they had to be able to see backing out of their driveway. So we couldn't have this solid body fence going all the way property line, so they had to have the end of it was kind of required to be open just so you could see getting out of the driveway.
So there's no right-of-way in front?
Well,
Because-
there's a very small right of way, maybe
Okay.
like 7 feet or something.
But it's not on a corner, is it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I understand there's only 7 feet of right-of-way.
Well, grass, put it that way, before you get to the improved street, put it that way.
Yeah, okay, so there's 7 feet of right-of-way from their property line to the street.
Yes.
Okay, it's not on a corner lot. So, I mean, I would let you make the expert call on that, but in a general sense, I would say a 6-foot-high fence you can't see through with something like podocarpus on the outside of it.
Now, that's going to require them to move the fence in 3 feet on both sides.
I understand.
Just so, it's all clear, so.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Martin?
I too would like the landscaping on the outside of the fence. I don't have Commissioner McGurk's knowledge of what landscaping plants work, but that's defying a little bit too much of our regulations for my comfort zone. And so I'm hoping it wouldn't be a big deal to move that fence in a couple of feet, or 5 feet on each side to accommodate that buffer. I think it's fair to the neighborhood.
Yeah, it'd have to be in 3, so, to accommodate the buffer.
Commissioner Ashley?
Would they object to, thank you, Mayor, would they, the developer, object to that space being lost?
They're here. From conversation, they didn't seem terribly thrilled with that idea, I'd say.
Why? Do you know?
Well, I think they came in with the understanding that they applied for a permit, and basically I came down to, they thought, or they had the impression, I don't want to put words in their mouth, they're here, they could explain themselves, but they felt that because the building department issued them the permit, it was okay to stay there. And when they applied for the permit, it was for a fence around what it was at the time a house or a business, and not saying anything about the permit text, but they're looking at a fence, getting it approved as close to you want as quickly as possible. They're not looking into, well, they might put a boat in RV storage, which has a different set of regulations. So I don't think that they're terribly fond of the idea of moving it, but they're here and they're looking for approval. So
And next comment is just, I agree with Jason and Lisa that landscaping should be on the outside of the fence, not the inside.
Yeah, I wouldn't be confident that it would survive on the inside. It's just how those things typically go is they get trampled or ignored and die.
Jake, can you help us with the process here a little bit? Let's unpack the application process. There's a home and some other structures on the property when they got it, and those were destroyed and torn down all but one. And the application for the fence Was that as a residence, or was it, what was the understanding of the planning department when they came in and said, hey, we need to put a fence up? How does that work?
You know, I pulled the permit, and the permit was pulled by, as a specialty contractor, Chad Howard. And then the actual permit itself, it says, please be aware that it will be at the homeowner's expense if work is needed to be performed in the drainage and utility easements. So I think that's kind of like a boilerplate thing they put in there, but it references homeowner. I can't say for sure whether the house was still standing there at that point in time, but the fence permit references homeowners kind of watch out. So, and it was a house before.
So let me follow up on that. The requirements for a fence for a home is what?
Well, it could be up 6 foot tall, but it's a business zoning. So kind of what they were going to put in, except for the area along the front where you had to have your visibility triangle so you could see out, it can be 6 foot tall along the sides.
Got it. And that's not the case for a business fence by your rules that are written today?
It's the same basic general ruling because it's the B3 zoning district, which is kind of a commercial. Basically, like right now, if you had a home in this zoning district and you tore it down, you can't build it back. The houses are non-conforming structures in this neighborhood.
Got it. So they could not have reconstructed a home if they wanted to?
No.
The intent was always to make it a business?
Yeah, that's kind of how that whole B3 area between kind of really would be the east side and west side of US 1 to the tracks. That whole area is largely zoned B3, which requires, if a house goes, it can't be replaced. It can stay there as long as it stands, but if it comes down,
that stays down. I got it. How about the setback? Did we inform them when they pulled the permit, hey, you gotta, if it's for business, you're gonna have to put the landscape in front, you gotta set the fence back? Or why did they put the fence on the property line? Trying to figure that out. I mean, I know I can ask them, but what was your understanding when they applied?
As a residential use, the fence could be on the property line. When you have a business going in, again, you're trying to provide a slightly more attractive appearance for them, and that's why you have the landscape buffer along the sidelines.
Really good. I'll ask them. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
No.
Are you good? Okay. All right. Hey, Jake, don't go anywhere. We'll probably ask you to come back. Thank you so much. We'd love to hear from the applicant if he's present, or he or she would like to talk with us. Good evening.
Jen Cornelius is my husband, Ken Cornelius.
Speak right up into that microphone, my dear, and you can pull it down to you.
Yeah, that'd be better, thanks. So I'm Jen Cornelius, and this is Clint Cornelius, and we're the owners. Hi. So I just have a little bit of history here on how things went down that we kind of wanted to explain to you. We purchased this property in April 2024 because it's 150 feet away from our other storage lot on 544 Doris Street, which we've owned for the last 5 years and is also zoned B3. The houses that were on the property we purchased at 666 were completely run down, not up to code, and very unsafe. We had to remove them regardless. So we went to the city of Venice Beach to apply for a permit to turn the houses down, and they approved it. At that time, there was no mention of the requirement to obtain a special exception from the city, which actually surprises me because I've now come to learn that in a B3 zone, once a house is torn down, another one cannot be put up and the property is automatically considered commercial. So this should have queued every other permit that was pulled after that point. This is the first one that was done. It wasn't until everything was completely cleared that we went back down to the permitting office in person, my husband and I, and explained what we were going to use the property for, a storage lot, exactly the same one as our other one 150 feet away. They told us the process for doing permitting. They didn't mention at that time anything either about a special exception. So we applied for the permit for the east and west sides, which are the street sides, which are the exact same fence that we have at our other storage lot 150 feet away. It's the exact same one. We had the city come down before we installed anything, and they inspected the footings, where they were being placed, measured the setbacks, and told us exactly where to put everything. The city inspector approved it, instructed us to move forward and put it in. The fence was installed and approved. It's the same one as our other storage yard. I already said that, sorry. We then applied for the second permit for fencing that runs along the property lines. Again, they should have known this was a commercial property at this point because we submitted for vinyl privacy fencing and they denied us. They said we had to, that's what he said, vinyl privacy fencing, and we had to put in chain link fence, that was a requirement. So we complied with that and put in the chain link fence that they asked us to put in, 6 feet tall. Throughout all of these interactions with the city, at no point did anyone mention that we would need to apply for the special exception. When I called the Utilities Commission to inquire about utilities, those are the ones that told me that this was something that needed to be going through zoning because of the special exception, and that's how I started this process. So now I've spent $36,000 on fencing that was approved by the city of New Smyrna Beach, and now being told that it doesn't meet the special exception requirements. We've been trying to do things the right way throughout this whole process, continuously went to the city for guidance, but unfortunately we're not given the correct guidance. And that's why we're here today.
Anything else?
I don't have much more other than, it's quite obvious what we were planning on doing. We bought the home or the property under NSB Boat and RV Storage. Our existing storage facility at 544 Doris Street is B3. The setbacks of the fence are exactly the same as 666. So how would we know? We wouldn't know. We're not, big developers here. It's a small business. So we went into the city and followed the process. And this is where we're at. So this has been going on a year. So I just ask, if you look at the big picture, some of what Jake has said is true, and I'm not saying anything he said is not true, but there's a bigger picture here. So I just ask you to take a look at that, and we're open for questions.
Are you comfortable with us asking you some questions?
Yep.
Okay, really good. Any of my colleagues have anything? Commissioner Perrine?
So my heart goes out to you. I've been in your shoes. That's part of the reason why I'm up here. Unfortunately, I hate hearing that story because identically the same thing happened to me in 2014. I had the same thing with building a new home. The city didn't tell me, but they stamped their approval on something, and then down the road I had to apply for a special exception. So my heart goes out to you for that. I don't have any questions. I don't like hearing these stories. I hope we can fix that.
Anybody else? Commissioner McGurk.
Yeah, actually, my questions go back to Jake. I'll bring him back up. Thank you.
So, anybody else? No. Okay, good enough. So, it was always your intent to duplicate the unit, the facility you had up the street.
Yes.
You made that clear to the city staff when you came in the very first time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the fact that the house was
Who'd you
already-
speak with?
The permitting department. I'm not sure who was sitting at the desk that day, but the house at that point was already torn down. They pulled that permit up. They could see it. We were talking about it. She had seen that. So that would have clued her in that there was no way that we could be a residential property because there was no house there. And she was looking at the permit with me.
The setbacks were always kind of a gray area. So we went back and forth during the permitting process. And we physically went into the office twice just to make sure we were all on the same page. So I said, well, before we pour any footings, let's make sure the inspector goes out there. So the contractor, he dug the footings, they went out, pulled tape, and went through the whole process, and then that's where we're at. And we really, actually, on the side, we wanted the vinyl fence so it would block the neighbors. And with the setback, we felt that was fine, and we were denied.
Another question. And it may be for Jake. There's something about the visibility zone there. Is there an intrusion into the visibility triangle where you can't see when you're coming out, so it offers any danger to either the people coming in and out or pedestrians?
I don't believe so at all, because there's only one egress, and that's on the west side. We don't have a gate on the east side. So, and that backs to the railroad tracks. So there's plenty of room there.
And the fence line on Doris Street is set back enough where the two driveways come out on the other side. There shouldn't be any visibility issues.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner McGurk?
Yeah, so what I was saying about the plants, the autograph plant, it's a beautiful looking plant, but I recommend you don't use it. I'm not gonna tell you can't, but I'd go to podocarpus because you can grow that 6 feet high at a foot wide, or you can let it go 6 feet wide at 15 feet high. It does very well in either cold or very hot. So, but the autograph plan is not zoned down for this area up here, and it will freeze and it will die, and then you'll have to replant. So regardless what the landscapers tell you, I assure you that'll happen. I wanted to plant that myself, and it will freeze here. The other lot you're talking about, is that on the corner of Ronick? You said you have another.
Dora and.
Yeah, it's right on Door. It's the same address.
Oh, okay. We're not talking about a separate location.
Yeah,
No,
so,
it is a separate location, 544, it's just down the street, so yeah, it is. Ronnie.
yes, it's a separate location.
Is that one, is that one on the corner of Ronick and Dora?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So it's ironic. That one has a problem when you're on Dora heading north and you come to Ronick, to see to the west, you got to inch up very carefully. Now that's been like that forever. That's not, I understand. I was just curious because every time I see that, I'm like.
We're instructed not to put certain size vehicles in there, which we haven't done.
Right. Yeah, that's a unique situation. I was just curious about that. That's why I asked. Okay, I have no more questions for the
Okay,
applicant. I
anybody
do have a
else?
question for Jake.
Thank you, guys. Thank you
Can
so
I
much.
make one more statement?
You
Just,
can,
just
and
so,
you'll get an opportunity also at the end to make closing remarks, so either
Okay.
way.
Just so we're clear, I mean, we're only trying to accommodate this change. I mean, we don't want to plant more plants. And when we put the permit in to demo the two homes, there were, I don't know how many dozens of palm trees. That was included in the permit to remove those trees. And now we're being told we got to plant trees. So it's, we're doing what we can here, but now we're going to be spending more. We spent $15,000 to demo these two homes and the plants that were all approved. And now we're having to put new plants in, irrigation, and, trees. It's just, to me, it's a backward cycle. And these two departments they're one floor separated from one another. There's got to be some communication breakdown there.
Yeah, we'll be asking some questions.
Sure.
I appreciate that.
That's all I have.
Thank you both. Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
We'll come back at the end to have you wrap up if you'd like to say some comments at the end.
Thank you.
Jake, can you come back up? How does it happen? How is it that we get an inspector on the site, we talk to these folks? How in the world, it doesn't look good for our work inside the house? Can you help me get there?
Well, I mean, I obviously can't explain everything that went down in the building department for this whole thing, but, and the techs aren't always the most experienced in these things in the first place. But, what they did approve would be for a residence on the property line. But in this instance.
We know that there's not going to be a residence there because we know the zoning, as soon as you tear that one thing down, you're not going to be able to put a residence back up.
So, that's why I'm saying is I can't explain how we ended up with this fence on the property line because the fence that is there along the side property line would be something that's for a residence. How it ended up, if this tech person knew that the house was gone, which they're saying that they did, I can't explain that away.
Commissioner McGurk.
So Jake, the mayor hit on it. I guess my question is this. People come in, it's zone B3. There's a rule for a fence on B3, which required that to come in. So regardless if there was an existing house on it or not, just simply by the zoning B3 if I understood you correctly, that fence needs to come in 3 feet. Is that accurate or not?
Because as it's a residence, at that time, it could be set, because there's no buffer requirement for a residence. So you could have your fence right along that property line if it was a residence.
So it's a non-conforming use.
Correct.
With B3 zoning.
Mm-hmm.
And when they applied for the permit, the house was there.
Like I said, I have the permit that references the homeowner being responsible for things, and that's what I have.
Okay, so if I understand the process, they went to the building department. They sat down with a building department tech, asked them questions, and got some answers.
Yes.
When or did they go to the planning department?
They came to us, I think we did one of our pre-apps that we do every Wednesday, pretty much all day in November. So, I mean, you know, we have a business rep that's also downstairs that helps people with new businesses. You know, the resources are there. Why they didn't inquire or why a tech didn't say, hey, you're starting a new business in town, you might want to talk to this person, I can't explain it.
So that was funny you mentioned that, because that was going to be my next question. What happened to this liaison that we're supposed to have so these things don't continue to happen? I guess
yeah, we have a new person that was hired in that position too.
Yeah.
You know, and that was probably back in October or something.
So let me ask you about the process. I would guess, because from my knowledge of it, that if I wanted to do anything, the first thing I'm going to do is go to the planning department. Because the planning department, the building department is for permits. Planning department is going to tell me all the rules and the LDR and the code of ordinances and all. That's what you guys are going to tell me, right?
Correct.
Okay. So they first went to the building department, and whatever they did, but at some point they did come to the planning department.
Yes, much later, I think she said when the, you know, Kenny Howitt Utilities or maybe Lynn said, hey, you guys need to do a special exception for this, because we do these boat and RV storages pop up quite a bit, and
Yeah.
so we're kind of going through these fairly regularly, you know.
Okay. So the way I see this is we're in a little bit of a conundrum. For whatever reasons, the process didn't catch this. They spent $36,000 on a fence. And in a perfect situation, I would have given you the response that I already gave you and left it at that. But I think we need to, I think there needs to be some forgiveness here under the circumstances. I would allow them to keep the fence. And the fence doesn't meet the height, right? Right now, it's not, it needs to be 6 feet.
It's 6 foot.
It is 6 feet.
Yeah, but like I said, they had proposed in putting up this screen along it to basically block it.
A screen that covers that.
The scuff that covers it. Up to 4 foot. You seem to be more into the idea of 6 foot, but the 4 foot is required by the special exception requirement that's built into the B3. So.
Well, and this is just, I mean, this is just my opinion, because we got 5 of us up here and you guys. What is the best, is it best for us to try to deal with this, or is it best for you guys to try to deal? I mean, my personal opinion is I'd put a screen up on that, let them plant it on the inside, irrigate it, and move on from it, and try to learn from how this got.
My thought on fairness of this whole situation, because obviously I've kind of pondered this whole thing, because I'm the one that had to stand up here and kind of explain this whole thing away right now, is I thought it would be fair to have the screen attached to it to more or less get the intent of it met. I think that would probably work out better than the hedges on the inside of the fence, just because they tend to not make it or be maintained, whatever the case may be. I say put their palm trees out front in the, and either on the Dora side or, both 3 or 4, either side. Put some shrubs out front, irrigate those areas, and call it a day. It's kind of my thought.
So you're talking about put palm trees in the right of way?
No, because they have the fence on the street ends 5 feet off the property line. So you actually have some space there to plant some trees on their property. So you can make it look good from the street, and then the sides, except for where people have to be able to back out and see around it, you could have the bulk of this area screened from the north and south of 2 homes that are there.
Okay, so I followed what you said, except repeat what you would do with the landscaping?
Put it on the shrubs and trees on the east and west end, along Dora frontage and along the Pecan frontage.
Okay, what about the north and south end of the property?
The screen.
No hedge?
Well, unless you wanted to make them move the whole thing in 3 feet, then you can go with the hedge. But I think to put it on the inside behind a screen seems kind of like pointless,
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it's not the ideal situation, but I think it's better than nothing. But that's just, again, I'm not,
Yeah.
it's subjective here.
I could just see it, you know, I'm not saying they don't have green thumbs, they might be great at it, but I'm a little concerned about the hedges making it behind the kind of.
I agree, but in the end, I guess that would be.
Ma'am, no, ma'am, no, ma'am, no, ma'am. You'll get public participation, just a minute. Have a seat and I'll get to you, I promise. You'll have a chance.
Well, I understand, and I'll defer right now.
So, Mr. Manager, you got this picture, and you know we've got some work to do with the process, and you're a process guy. So, in my view, before we hear from the public, is we can't hold the public responsible for fixing Department A and Department B, even if they're in the same building. So, there's obviously a breakdown there, and public good needs to be served. That means the neighbors and everybody. So, we'll hear from the public in just a second, but clearly we've got a process that we need to have triced up. Thanks, Jake. I appreciate your comments. Don't go home yet.
I'll be right here for right now.
You betcha. Thank you. City Commission will now hear from members of the public wishing to comment in favor of or opposed to the special exception to allow the boat/RV facility to operate in the B3 zone. So if you come forward, you'll be heard. You'll be given 3 minutes. We're not answering questions, but we'd love to hear what you have to say. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Deborah Shaw. I live 3 houses down from this site. I'm also, if you're going to go this route, then you're going to help me out, because that block is listed as 0 lot lines. You guys don't have the documents because you would not store the paperwork. I have a piece of paper and I will bring it and we will talk about it. I have a neighbor that put a fence up against my house 3 feet away from my house. And I cannot do anything down the side of my house. Now, you're willing to let these people put the fence up and put a screen up on it and make it for like a protection type thing. That's gonna blow down in 1 storm. And then we're gonna have it all open up again. So whatever's in there is gonna be exposed. Then when he talks about going on the setback requirement on the trees and stuff, you have to have a right-of-way. So when you back out, you gotta see what's coming both ways. Then we have $1 million school behind us that we use as a shelter when we have a hurricane, that they have a roll fence back there. I understand they want to use it for storage, but the place they have down at the end of the street is a storage that was existent with chain link fence. On our block, we're not allowed to replace chain link fence anymore. That was abolished. That was in the building code. You either go with wood or you go with the plastic. You are not to put a chain link fence. The guy that put the fence up next to me, I fought him tooth and nail. So if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. So if you're gonna let them do that, then I'll meet you and you can help me. Because I feel like you're letting them use the law that you say you made a mistake on your behalf. They pulled the permit and they were fully aware of what the permit was gonna do, and that they were gonna put a storage in there and trailers. But there's big boats in there, and there's no maintenance been done in there since they moved in there. So if you let them put up some kind of gardening material and keep that wrought iron fence up there, how do you figure that's gonna keep everything copacetic in the neighborhood? It's zone B3 and residential. It's not just commercial. And you're wrong. You could have put a house back there because you're grandfathered in. You can. I put my house back. My house caught on fire in '92, and I put my house right back where it burned down. So that's not true either. So we need to do a little research. I got a whole bunch of research on my home. I built my home back. They could put a house back there if they want to, and you couldn't stop them. It's grandfathered in, and it is not abolished from it. But what I'm saying is, the way they want to put the fence up, who's going to put the fire out when we have the chlorine pool store in the front, and they have all this gas stored on that block? I'm 4 houses down. There's the nearest water place is across the street over by the Black Bears. We were just discussing with the fire marshal that the hydrant in front of the 7-Eleven is dead. It doesn't work. So how do we get water back there to put a fire out if we get these two things going and we have a fire? We just had 99-mile-an-hour winds on this last storm. All them transformers blew and caught two of the landscapes on fire back there. So what will we do when those two go up in flames?
I appreciate your comments. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Appreciate
I'll
that.
be down to pull
Thank
my
you, ma'am.
permit for my fence.
Thank you, ma'am.
Put it right up against the other guy's fence.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, everybody. Mr. Mayor, how are you? My name is Dylan Curtis. I live at 655 Dora Street. Stopped by to hear some of the concerns that we were talking about, and I was kind of on board for some of it. I understand, considering the zoning, if the house is going to go, it's going to move in a certain direction, and that's totally understandable. So, of course, I work for the city as well, and I went to work for a 24-hour shift, and I came home, and the house next door was gone. And then I went to another shift. I came back, there was limestone everywhere, and that's where I kind of started to have a few concerns. Again, how the lady before me was talking about fire load and things like that. Obviously, things like boat storage right across the street from me. I opened up my window, and there's where that house used to be. It is a bit unfortunate to hear that due to just a communication issue, the people that houses are still standing there. They haven't been, I'm very much a still residential street for me. I look out my front door, and where I was like, okay, we could do a fence and maybe some shrubbery. All right, well, now that's just going to be a screen due to a miscommunication. It feels like I'm starting to eat that a little bit, and I've got really no skin in the game here. So even for the essence of a residential street, for somebody like me that works for the city, there's not very many places I can afford around here, and to have a little bit of an essence of a neighborhood has been nice. I've really enjoyed living on Dora Street. So little changes like that, again, is nothing that I'm ever going to jump out of my seat for joy about. Another boat storage is not the first thing I'd like to look at outside of my house. I'm over there since last April. Every day I'm picking up beer cans out of the fence line. No one mows that little grass strip anymore that the house over there used to mow. I walk over there with my lawnmower now and take care of that. When you lose the residential side, you are going to lose the care of the property. And the one directly across the street, the neighbors all are going to feel that as well. So even things like a screen versus a fence, Mr. McGurk, I was totally not really understanding the difference of the 4 foot and the little, I completely agree with you. And that's where I was absolutely on your side. But then when we revert right back to the screen idea, okay, well, now I'm just living next to a lot that, we don't have the care of a residential street anymore. Now we're just moving towards profit and commercial areas. And for us that have lived there and enjoyed our time living there, it's a bit of a sting. It doesn't feel like it's justice just from a mistake that was out of our hands. So just some concerns I had, but thank you for everything that y'all do. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else for public participation?
Good evening. My name is Karen Poveromo, 653 Dora Street. I'm directly across from the area in question and next to Dylan that just spoke. I have lived in New Smyrna Beach since 1971. I graduated from New Smyrna High School, worked as a candy striper and a registered nurse at Burt Fish Medical Center and local physicians' offices for 47 years. As you can see, I'm still a working member of the community. I raised my family in this community, and my grandchildren are still being raised in this community. We have all watched the area grow and are experiencing the side effects of our growth. Protecting our neighborhoods is essential to preserving our community. The Volusia County Property Appraisers site lists the owner as a gentleman in Colorado. I don't know if that's correct. I don't know what relationship he has to these people who are trying to put this business forward. If that is true, then That person who cares and has a deep understanding of our history is in the state of Colorado. And we see that a lot in our community now with out-of-state owners. The pictures you were given are of the property down the street at 544 Doris Street. That's the property that's under the same name, NSB Boat and RV Storage. It isn't 150 feet away from the other location. It's 1,056 feet away, or 0.2 miles, because that's the same distance it is from my home. Concerning the 600 location, or the 666 location, there are residential homes on most of this street. These residents have lived here for decades. Allowing a boat and RV storage will not only devalue their homes, but change the character of the neighborhood. As you can see from those pictures I have provided, the issue is not landscaping or how high the fence is. NSB Boat and Storage is an eyesore and does not belong in the neighborhood with residential homes. And in reference to the conversation you all have just had, the residents should not be punished for the city's mistake. Safety is an issue, and we are all greatly concerned about this. People stroll through this area and they walk their dogs. Chisholm Elementary is within walking and visual distance of these properties. Chisholm staff and supporters have worked hard to make this school a safe and aesthetically pleasing facility. Again, a boat and RV storage area does not belong in a residential area or near a school. It belongs in an industrial area. I have other pictures I'd like to share. These pictures are of the 660 Dora Street location. The property owner, as you know, has already started storing RVs and boat trailers on the property at that location. There is a small RV and several boat trailers and such. I was just notified of this meeting and had no prior notification of the Planning and Zoning Board meeting held on March 3rd. Research has shown that ignoring aesthetics in a commercial zone can lead to long-term negative consequences, including decreased property values, difficulty attracting quality businesses to the area, a decline in the quality for residents and businesses, a tarnished reputation for the area, and too many others to mention. In closing, my own family's business thrived in New Smyrna Beach for 47 years, and even though it's now closed, my 98-year-old mother is alive and well. She asked me to pose this question to Mayor Cleveland and each commissioner. Would you want this eyesore across the street from you? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else for public participation?
Joe Gluback again. I'm here because we're facing with some of the same issues in Venetian Bay. The question comes about power, water, and restroom requirements. I've not heard any of that. I assume that's all covered okay. The thing that I'm really concerned about, though, is you just don't drive a boat and put it in storage. If you've used your boat, if any of you have, you're sitting out there cleaning it, washing it, oil, gasoline, marine life flows off of the boat when you're there. How do you prevent that from contaminating the real water system? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else for public participation? Seeing none, public participation is now closed. The quasi-judicial hearing is now closed. Have some final remarks from the city staff. Jake, have you got any?
I do understand exactly what all the residents are saying around there regarding this use. Ideally, it would be nice to have the vegetation on the outside to at least buffer as much as you can. I don't know, what really is a a suitable situation or resolution to this whole thing. Going back to the whole fence thing again, the permit does state, please be aware that it'll be at the homeowner's expense to do it, which is what the permit references, and the permit is in a place where a fence would be allowed for a residence. So I'm not ready to say that our own building department really made a mistake, because the reference, the permit references homeowners, and it's in a location where a fence could be for a house. So I know it counters what they're saying, but the permit that we actually have supports where it's located. So,
Any questions for Mr. Baker?
Well, I'm a little bit confused about some of the timing, because the house was demolished several months before the fence permit was solicited.
Yeah,
And
that's my understanding.
yeah, well, that's what the property appraiser site said. And I'm also curious that there appears to be storage happening there now, and I'm wondering if they have a BTR.
They have nothing. There should be nothing out there right now, but there is.
Thank you.
Jake, talk to us for a second about the fire. I wish that the chief was still here. Fire hydrant, flow, risk of, well, I'm worried about public safety for sure, and the good of the whole. I don't want the whole neighborhood to take a hit. And I feel, and we've got to figure out what we've done, because I think we may have done something to these folks that they didn't expect. So talk to me about the fire risk, and is it safe to have anything there?
As said, the fire marshal had noted that the fire flow would not be sufficient if they were to enclose it with a structure. And I do know he said when they have fires, they actually, like I can't think of her last name right now, who just got up and spoke. I know they had to bring a water truck out for her house, whatever it was 30 years ago, because there wasn't flow enough for it then. So I don't think it is the strongest right there. And, this will have boats, close to people's homes.
Yeah. How about the statement that the grandfathering, could a home be rebuilt there, Jake?
Okay, that's a different situation which she had. If your home gets destroyed by a tornado, if it gets hit by a hurricane, if it burns, you're allowed to build back what you have. Okay. But if you're taking it down voluntarily, no. So she was allowed to rebuild, but that's kind of like the act of God. You're allowed to go back to what you had before.
Makes sense. Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Baker? Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. The applicant has the opportunity to come back and have the final word. If you guys have anything you'd like to say.
Again, in closing here, we're just looking to move forward. We're open to feedback and coming to a resolution. We've got a significant investment here. I won't bore you with the cost of the property. It is in our name. We bought it from an investor in Colorado, so that answers that question. As far as how the property looks today, it's an empty lot. There's my personal trailers in there, along with a friend's trailer in there. We are not storing boats and RVs in there right now. There is probably trash and debris that we pick up at 544 on a daily basis, where we mow once a week, and I have a full-time maintenance employee. So we do keep up with that property. And I challenge everyone to drive down Doris Street and look at 544 and look at some of the other properties, commercial properties around, and make your own assessment on what's going on. But we've been told by the city to cease all construction, no more moving forward until this comes to resolution. So that's exactly what we've done. So I'm not going to spend resources and any more time and money mowing and picking up trash or whatever's going on until we have a solution here. And again, I'm willing, and Jennifer's willing to move forward here, but it's got to be within reason, because I do, again, feel like we have done our due diligence and we followed what we thought were the guidelines. And, that's something clearly that the city needs to work on. So that's all I have, Jennifer.
Yeah, and obviously, we don't want this to be an eyesore for the neighbors, and we want to make sure it's a street that everybody can be proud to drive down and everything, but realistically, it is a B3 zone, which is a commercial district. It's not exactly a full residential street, and there are several other businesses on that street, but we do intend to make it as nice looking as possible for the neighbors and want to keep everybody as happy as possible.
Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you
so much. Okay.
So I have some thoughts, Mayor.
All right, we're ready.
So this is a transition from residential to B3. It's zone B3, and now we're going through the growing pains of slowly transitioning. So that horse is out of the barn. And this is coming to us as a special exception. We don't technically have to approve it. But the question is, what kind of businesses are actually going to go in there? I'm not sure what the thought was, or, from a planning perspective, long-term planning, what businesses were going to go in there, or whether or not those lots were to complement lots on US 1. It always seems like something always seems like a good idea, ripple in the pond, so to speak. This area has historically had low water pressure. Same thing with some sewage issues. At one time, there were discussions about CRA money making infrastructure improvements. I think we may have done some of that, or I'm not sure where that ended up. So we just seem to kind of be in a conundrum between a number of different things, and mostly it's old residential homes now with a commercial zoning and growing pains. And I hear the residents, and I sympathize with them, but we also are going to run into this problem with pretty much any business that tries to come in there. So there's a lot for us we've heard a lot tonight. I'd recommend that we postpone this 2 weeks and see if staff can meet with the applicant and get this stuff figured out and come back before us with a recommendation that they both can agree on. There's just a lot. We can kick this around all night. That's just my opinion, personal opinion on that.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Ashley.
I would like to do what Jason says, because I would like to go see the property myself. I'm just not that familiar with the neighborhood, and both sides have an opinion. I want to form an opinion myself by going and seeing exactly what's going on there.
Sir. Commissioner Martin.
Just that I support the tabling for a couple of weeks, and would ask that we find a way to soften the perimeter, because we do still have a number of people living on that street. So in deference to the people who live there, to soften it in a way that would accommodate both the business, but the people that live there.
Appreciate that, man. Anything from you, Commissioner Perry?
No comment.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I think we've got some work to do, and just, Mr. Manager, I don't like to solve these from the dais. We're not here to work the problem out. We're here to set a policy and make a determination at the highest level. So there's some due diligence that could go on here to include that. I think our process needs to be fixed. I think the applicants have got a good amount of money in it. It's their property. It's zoned for what they want to do. And as long as we do no damage, no harm to the neighboring places, which means a solid screen. And so we've given them advice to plant a screen that won't work. And so maybe it's the city's role to make them whole on what they've invested in that screen, in that fence, and maybe we pay to move that fence back, put the landscaping in front like the city planner says that's what it was supposed to be because of our breakdown. Maybe that's on us to eat so that we don't further damage them. I feel significantly for the residents there who don't want an unsightly neighborhood. I'm sympathetic to preserving the character of that community and our entire community. So unsightliness and decay is not right. It's a balance between the homeowner's rights or the business owner's rights or property owner's rights to do what they've been told they can do. If our zoning isn't right or our process inside has them working one against the other, that's on us. We have to, as a city, to fix that. So I speak in favor of my colleague's idea to have the staff come back with a recommendation, not tell us up here, you guys get to choose whether you want this or want that, and us to engineer our way through it. That's not our skill set, and that's not what, I don't think that's what we should be doing up here. So I would entertain, actually, first, the smartest guy in the room, Mr. Manager, what's your view about what we should do next, sir?
Well, I think you should postpone this for a couple of weeks and let us run through the property and see what we think is the best solution here. I don't think we're going to design a solution sitting here right now. And there's been a lot said. I don't know which end is up right now and who said what to who. So I'd like an opportunity to look at that, what happened, and hear from all sides and figure out the best solution we can to this.
Absolutely. Okay, so I would entertain a motion. Madam City Attorney, help me here. Is it to, it's not table, it is.
Continue to April 22nd?
Continue to date certain, which would be April 22nd. Is there a motion to that effect?
So move.
We have a motion and a second from Commissioner Ashley. Is there any more discussion by us?
Say the 22nd gives, I'm not saying it can't be done, but it gives exactly 1 week to get everything finalized and back in. And if everyone's having these conversations, a week could be a tight.
That's code for it's not long enough.
Well, it could be, but it's going to be tight.
How much time you need, Jake?
I think it could be accomplished. I also know I have to go out of town for a wake this weekend, and I'm not going to be here Thursday afternoon and Friday, so that leaves me like 3 days to have this whole thing done.
So maybe May 13th?
May 13th, a meeting on May 13th? Great. With consent, can we amend the motion?
I'll amend the motion to continue it to the May 13th meeting.
Without objection? All right, very good. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Ashley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you much. The motion carries. Thank you, folks, for coming in. Okay, on to public hearings. The city attorney will read ordinance 1625 for the second time by title only, please.
Ordinance number 1625, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach granting a non-exclusive franchise to Cliff Berry, Inc. to provide construction and demolition debris removal services within the City of New Smyrna Beach, outlining franchisees' duties, providing terms and conditions under which such franchise shall operate, providing for severability, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. I see Director Ray is in the batter's box. David, we're interested in your report, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. This is once again a standard non-exclusive franchise agreement that we have throughout the city for roll-off services for C&D and material, but I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions on C&D? Seeing none, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Public hearing is now open. Are there any citizens who wish to speak on this topic? Please approach the podium and you'll be heard. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 1625?
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Ashley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes, thank you very much. Motion carries. All right, on to first readings. Madam City Attorney, if you'll read ordinance 1525, 1725, and 1825 and 1925 for the first time by title only. I'd appreciate that. I believe we have a presenter, a consultant that will talk to us about item 11A, which is of interest to many.
Ordinance number 1525, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, repealing and replacing Article 6, Development, Design, and Improvement Standards, Section 60404, landscaping requirements, and Section 60451, tree preservation, to update and enhance landscaping and tree preservation requirements, providing for codification, providing for public hearings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be April 22nd, 2025. Yeah. This is the one with the presentation.
Thank you.
Stephanie, go ahead.
Yes, as you know, we have been working diligently on Section 60404 landscape requirements and Section 60405 tree preservation. I have James Hartfield here with VHB Consulting. He's been on this project since the beginning in 2022. And so he is going to give a presentation on all the changes and answer questions regarding any of those changes.
That's good. And so welcome, sir. Appreciate you coming in. So just for my colleagues, I have not read this cover to cover. It probably needs to be read cover to cover by all of us. And so this will be a start in a process for adoption that will be continued. You know, we will continue this on to the second meeting. I'm sure the general public feels the same way. This is about our trees. This is about our canopy. This is about what makes New Smyrna special. And there's all sorts of off-ramps here. So with respect, we're going to be delighted to hear what you have to say, but likely we're going to have to see you again or somehow get in touch with your firm again after you're done, because there's a lot of meat in this thing, and we appreciate your work. Go right ahead, sir.
All right, so like Stephanie said, my name is James Hartsfield with VHB, and yeah, we're talking about the landscape code update. I have been the community planner on this project, again, since 2022. The project manager is Roberta Fennessy. If I'm not here for the next meeting, it will be her. So I just wanted you to see her face as well. So generally, when we started this project, there were a number of goals. The main ones were updating the code language to be more consistent with best practices, emphasizing some maintenance and operations-minded regulations. There was a desire for illustrations within the code to make things unambiguous. And then the last and a really critical one was revising payments and penalties. So that's what we've tried to address overall, along with generally streamlining and consolidating the code where it currently exists in several parts of the land development code. We wanted to bring it all into one section. So I'm going to go over kind of the big headline portions of the code and not super specific as to what's changed, but whether or not it is new or existing language. So the first is the intent and applicability sections. These are entirely new because we are consolidating that code into one area. The intent is there to guide those gray cases, essentially, give a good idea of what the code's designed to do, and provide a general understanding if something comes up that's not explicitly addressed. With the applicability, that identifies who is subject to the landscaping requirements. Within that, there are actually 4 exceptions. I don't believe he's here anymore, which is a shame. Those exceptions are due to the corridor overlay district, because that has its own landscaping requirements. That's a clear exception. Clearing of underbrush and small trees that don't fit the minimum requirements. And then, what were the other 2? Oh, yeah, remodeling of an existing home that's not expanding the footprint. And then the last one is tree nurseries, because landscaping requirements with tree nurseries is kind of a strange conflict of interest. So the next big section is the general requirements. That covers what is a landscaping plan, what are the minimum material requirements, what are the maintenance requirements. Within the landscaping plan, a lot of that is new. It just generally describes, depending on the use, single-family, residential, multifamily, commercial, what do we want to see on that plan? There was a change from the first time we brought this into the workshop where some of that language talked about like a landscaping professional. We changed that to be more explicit to a landscape designer or a landscape architect. Material standards is a new section that describes, like I said, the quality of the landscaping materials. There are some new best practices language kind of thrown in there that discusses the like non-vegetative materials. And then with maintenance stuff, a lot of that is actually existing language with a little more specific language regarding attractive and healthy conditions that is just kind of language you see in a lot of codes. That gives a little oomph to code enforcement. With soldering requirements, this is actually all existing language that is specific to common areas. Once again, with non-vegetative materials, that's fully a new section that provides guidance for the use of stone, gravel, artificial turf, that type of stuff when used in conjunction with vegetative materials. The utility section, this was a big sticking point actually at the beginning of the project. We did kind of change it as the project went along. Generally, the guidance for landscaping near utilities areas is to avoid it, but this section does provide some guidance when that can't happen. Minimum landscaping standards is those requirements for single-family lots, new subdivisions, commercial lots, industrial lots. The biggest change here is the update for the minimum plantings required on lots. Currently, it's 2,500, one tree per 2,500 square feet. We have increased that to one tree per 2,000 square feet. So that's about a 20% increase, or that is a 20% increase for the tree canopy throughout the city. With parking areas, that is also primarily a existing language, but we did add some specificity when it comes to parking islands, how big they need to be, or minimum sizes, and then planting requirements for those. And special uses is all existing language that covers those edge case uses that have, within the zoning code, that have specific landscaping language tied to them. This is things like playgrounds or child care facilities attached to churches. They have like a hedge requirement. It's stuff like that. So I did want to talk about the minimum landscape requirements. I'm going to ask you to ignore the numbers on the chart or on the picture because I apparently forgot how to do math when I did that. But that is actually supposed to be a 5,000 square foot lot. And the difference with the existing and the new code is right now it requires 2 trees. One of those trees has to be a canopy tree. The new code would require 3 trees with 2 of those trees being a canopy tree. So that's really what the difference is. And then we do have a chart to kind of compare common, I'm going to put air quotes around that word, common lot sizes ranging from 5,000 square feet up to a half an acre, and the difference between the current code and what would be required with this new language. So the next section that we're going to talk about is the buffers section. That is all new language. This addresses minimum standards, who's responsible for planting and maintaining the buffers, what's supposed to go in them, and then it does cover a little bit of access requirements that is some existing language. Generally speaking, we created a matrix of zonings, like a zoning table matrix that says if zone A is next to zone B, what size is that buffer supposed to be? And this provides guidance as to what other types of planting should go in there, whether or not it requires a screening like a fence or a hedge, that type of stuff. The tree preservation section is kind of a mix of some things changing, moving around, and then when we get to penalties and fees, that's a little bit different. most of these requirements have been maintained from what they are currently. We have expanded the applicability section and allowed for non-permitted removal of invasive species, that type of stuff. Minor changes to the tree removal and replacement section, mostly for that applicability and for making changes consistent with other sections of this code, which is the minimum planting requirements. With replacement trees, that is a little bit of a bigger change because, well, no, it's a huge change. We changed the tree calculation. We were told going into this that calculating tree replacements was difficult for a lot of people involved, staff and applicants. So we changed it all to a diameter breast height measurement, and we'll go over that with the next slide as well. And then also the calculation of fees. So here is an example, a 7,200 square foot lot. The calculation of this, basically, it assumes that there are 9 non-specimen trees, because that changes calculations a little bit. The total DBH inches of these, 56 inches. So if somebody came in, clear cut that lot, they would need to replace 22.4 inches. They have a couple options with that then. They can do completely new plantings, plant up to 22.4 DBH inches at the minimum planting requirements. That equals out to 3 to 5 trees. Or they can replace up to the minimum using absolutely the minimum planting requirements. That would be 3 trees plus a payment of $1,200. So that's a mitigation plus planting, or they can do the full planting. So this is a comparison of the existing costs of tree replacement versus what we have proposed. All costs are calculated on a per DBH inch basis. So $135 for non-specimen, non-historic trees verified on site, $325 for specimen trees, and $750 for historic trees. Specimen and historic trees are defined within the code already. And so this graph shows the cost of those replacements as those trees get larger, whether or not they're specimen or not. So a 12-inch non-specimen tree, the replacement cost for that is a little bit over $1,600. The current code cost for that is $11,500. So it's a pretty significant change. So the violations to the tree code, if somebody comes in, they pull permit, or they don't pull permits, they just cut down their tree, the costs are generally the same unless the tree was identified on a landscape plan as being preserved. So they still have to pay for the removal of that tree. If it was identified on the plan, it requires an additional $400 per DBH inch. And then in addition to that, if the tree size cannot be verified, this is also new language, it is assumed to be a 24-inch preserved specimen tree, which would cost $17,400. So the idea there is to incentivize, 1, identifying the trees that you're cutting down, and 2, to not remove everything and let code enforcement find out about it. So this is going to be my last slides, but the permitting violations and penalties and appeals sections, those are largely unchanged except for the violations and penalties section with those costs that I had just described. The appeals section is only minorly changed really to describe, to be in line with the other language of this code. And the permitting section does add 1 new area for the removal of trees on single-family lots, which is currently not addressed. But most of that language is existing or only slightly modified text. So that is the presentation.
Thank
If y'all
you,
have
sir.
any questions?
Yep, appreciate that. Any questions from my colleagues? I have a couple. Where's your firm located?
Oh, my firm is located at 201 East Robinson Street, Orlando, Florida.
Good. And do you use an arborist to help with these determinations?
We did have a team of landscape architects, not arborists.
No arborist?
No arborists.
Okay. And then the governance on penalties, is that regulated anywhere or fabricated inside your company? Is there any state requirements on the penalties, the replacement damage? Is there a governance, and if so, where?
There is some preemption in the when it comes to penalties that the state does have with regards to the safety of structures. That can't be abridged by the code. Generally, though, no. The cost of penalties is decided is a home rule decision.
What other cities have you helped in Volusia County?
I have not helped any personally.
Your firm?
My firm, with regards to a landscape code?
Yeah.
I can't speak to that.
Doing this, okay. Thank you.
I've only been here for 3 years, so.
Got it. I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
So we get into penalties, the cost of replacement trees and penalties. And this may not be for you, this may be a discussion for my staff down the road. Number one, do large developers get treated differently from a typical homeowner?
So they shouldn't. That was one of the things that was.
You said they shouldn't?
They should not. That's one of the things that we were trying to address in this code. There is one section, I will say, within this proposed language that does, that's with regards to the tree survey for a large developer, where they are allowed to survey a portion of their lot and then apply that portion to a larger section. But that's a negotiation between the city manager or his designee and the developer.
Okay, so my concern is a large developer, and what I'm referring to as a large developers, we're all developers as soon as we go to the building department and planning department and apply for any kind of permit application. If I'm gonna add a shed or add on to my home or build a 2,000 square foot home, the large developers who build thousands of homes have very deep pockets and can afford these kinds of penalties.
Sure.
The average homeowner with the average income in the area can get hit really disproportionately hard for some mix-up, or even if they blatantly just cut a tree down. Where large developers would do the same thing, look the other way, they can digest the cost. Maybe it's a business decision for them. So I'm a little concerned that we would treat a homeowner the same way. Those costs can start adding up very quickly and be very disproportionate. What do you do? I have a property. We've had, over the past 15 to 18 years, since I renovated that property, we've had numerous hurricanes. I've lost some trees. I've lost half of a tree. Things happen. How do I, when, or what is the mechanism to where I'm going to say, want to do something again to this property to improve it in some way? And I provide a survey to the city, and then the city says, well, wait a second, we have one back from 20 years ago. Where are these trees? We don't see these specimen trees or these other trees that were around. How is that going to be reconciled? How does a individual residential property or a business owner defend themselves, or what is the mechanism for the city fining a resident for trees that don't seem to be on the property today that were on a survey 15 or 20 years ago? Or is that even a concern?
So this is a little bit little
Yeah.
bit of a difficult question to
Well, and it might
answer.
be outside the scope of this, but this, and like I said, this may be something for my staff,
Yeah.
not necessarily you, but I start seeing these costs,
Yeah.
and I get a little nervous.
So within this code, part of the applicability section does discuss a single family resident coming in and what's required on a landscape plan as part of that. A single family or a single lot developing like that does, or redeveloping as could be the case, does not require like a full tree survey. It could just be a sketch signed off by an LA or a landscape designer. And in that case, I can't speak for staff, but I think the intention there is firstly to check that they are meeting the minimum requirements.
All right, thank you. I didn't want to, I'm putting you on the spot
Yeah.
here, probably outside your element, so I appreciate the comments.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am, Commissioner Perrine.
So I can't count the number of times I've seen a new homeowner buy a property. There's an old tree there with roots uprooting the deck, uprooting the foundation, messing up the sidewalks, and I've seen the red tape that has been given by this city to get that tree cut down. And it's destroying other things, but the tree is healthy. So I have a problem with treating a homeowner that they're going to have to come up with $17,000 to cut a tree down when the roots are destroying something on their land. How do you handle that?
So it kind of depends on the tree. If the tree is a historic tree, I think that does create some level of barrier. If it's doing damage to the property, though, there is recourse via an arborist to come in and say, yeah, this tree is a danger to this property.
I've seen this happen. I'm not in favor of this. I don't know who's behind pushing this, but I'm not for it.
Okay. So it's first reading, and we'll get a lot of time, led by the apple. Anything else from you?
Yeah,
sir?
I did want to add, the current costs for removing a tree right now are considerably higher than what's being proposed in this current code, or in the new code.
Are you saying costs that that they're going to have to pay to the city, or costs that they're going to have to pay a tree service to cut that down?
Violation costs. So I think, so if you have a property that has, the plumbing is being uprooted by tree roots, we're very sympathetic to property owners. If you put in a permit and you ask, hey, I would like to remove this tree, these are my damages, we assess the property. We say, how many trees are required on the property? How many will you have left? If you meet the minimum requirement, you don't have to replace. We'll allow you to remove it. As he said, if it is historic, it does require still coming to the city commission for approval for removal. However, if it is not, staff is, we work with residents all the time. If removing the tree brings them below their minimum requirement, say they're required to have 3 trees on the lot, it would bring them to 2. We'd say, you can replace a tree somewhere else on your property that's not going to interfere with your foundation of your house or your plumbing. So I think we're getting mixed up with the cost of removal. It's the cost of a violation. So we are charging a $28 permit fee to apply to have a tree removed on a property for residential.
And this is going to go from 28 to how much?
No.
Okay.
It's not changing. The application fee is not changing. The violation recourse is changing.
So the violation went from what to 17,000?
So currently in our code, our violations do not have, and I'm talking residential, because commercial and residential are treated a little differently as far as violation currently. For residential properties, if you were to remove a tree without a permit, we take the measurement of the tree, we do the cross-sectional inches, and you have to provide replacement on site. There's no option for payment to the city. You have to either replace the required on site, and if you can't fit them on your site, you have to donate them to the city to be used on city property. So right now, that method doesn't seem to be working with the amount of violations that we're receiving. You know, we would like the payment option to be in place so that we could use that money for maintaining our city trees or replanting without having to accept their choice of donated tree and put it in our tree fund. We could buy tree care equipment and you know, landscaping for the city. So the violations are where the money would be coming in, not the actual asking for a permit for tree removal.
Okay, back to the fees. So you're jumping from 0 fine, they just have to go replace the same diameter tree, to a $17,000 fine.
So our most recent violations that we received in trees was $125,000 worth of trees. They planted on site, and they're putting them in on their property with their new build, and then they donated the remaining of those trees to the city, and we've used them on city property.
Okay. I need a lot more time to digest this. There's got to be a lot more notice on this for our city before we jump into something like that. The Realtor Board of Association needs to be notified. We need to look at other cities. I think that's just a huge government overreach possibility. I need to know more.
As part of this project, we did look at Ormond Beach, Dania Beach? No. Ormond Beach, Cocoa Beach, and Fernandina Beach, actually, as a comparison of best practices.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Stephanie, thank you for the clarification, and we'll look forward to doing some research in the second reading, which is coming. Madam City Attorney, I think what's left is 1725, 1825, and 1925.
Yep.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Ordinance number 1725, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach annexing 9.1 plus or minus acres of property generally located east of Corbin Park Road, north of Page Avenue and Trophy Hunter Trail, addressed as 2061 Page Avenue, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 1, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be April 22nd. 2025. Ordinance number 1825, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of 9.1 plus or minus acres of property generally located east of Corbin Park Road, north of Page Avenue and Trophy Hunter Trail, addressed as 2061 Page Avenue, from Volusia County urban medium intensity to city medium density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be April 22nd, 2025. Ordinance number 1925, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach, rezoning 9.1 plus or minus acres of property generally located east of Corbin Park Road, north of Page Avenue and Trophy Hunter Trail, addressed as 2061 Page Avenue, from Volusia County R4A Urban Single Family Residential Airport Overlay to City R2 A Single Family Residential Airport Overlay Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading public hearing will be April 26, 2025.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. And now on to boards and commissions. Madam City Clerk, your report, please.
My report, these two board vacancies that we have for Housing Authority and Code Compliance will be presented to Commission at our next meeting on April 22nd. Thank you.
Have you gotten some candidates? I know you're doing a good job advertising again and again. Have you got candidates?
We have gotten a couple candidates for code compliance that meet the requirements. However, the ones that were already pending were no longer valid. They aren't able to serve, so it just kind of balanced out. In housing, we did get 3 new applicants as well for the Housing Authority appointment.
Very good.
So it's working very well.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your report. Okay, on to Mayor and Commission reports.
We need to do Commissioner Martin's charter.
Sure.
Just wanted to say, Steve Snively, who had been one of my appointees to the Charter Review Committee, his charity work in Africa is precluding him being able to attend as regularly as he would like. So I am appointing Sandra Smith to replace Steve Snively.
Got it. Madam City Attorney, help me through the procedure. Or is there
So you each got to appoint two each.
Yeah.
So
So she
we
just-
can
she
accept
just
the
changed it out.
resignation. Right, we'll accept the
Okay.
resignation
Cool.
of Mr. Snively and.
All right, excellent. All right.
We do need to vote, yes.
We
need to
do?
vote to approve.
Okay.
Yes, we did for
Madam-
the other
Madam-
ones as
Madam City
well.
Attorney, we need to vote?
You go ahead and vote.
Okay, we love voting, we do that well.
We do that well. I just don't remember voting for the other appointees.
The
Let's just
nomination-
vote and make
I-
it safe.
I think we voted the slate.
It was the issue that I had, but yes, we voted for him, but we did vote for him, but I had the same point. Their appointments, not,
Yeah, right.
Their appointments.
Why would we vote for an appointment?
but I think the attorney likes the cleanness of
All right,
a vote.
so we have a nomination to appoint
Sandra Smith.
Sandra
I'll
Smith.
second
Is there a
that.
second? There's a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Commissioner Perrine.
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk.
Yes.
Commissioner Ashley.
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Oh, yes, thank you so much. Okay, now we're there. On to reports. Vice Mayor, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, it is late. I've had a great couple of weeks, participated in an absolutely joyous ribbon cutting for the new Mary Avenue Tot Lot Playground, traveled over to the DeLand Sunrail Station for the unveiling of a sculpture by our own Fred Goldstein, the same artist who donated a sculpture to the Watch and Warren Park. Great job, pun intended, by Bliss Jameson for the SEV Manufacturing and Technology Coalition with Career Source for the annual job fair. Applicants of all ages scheduled interviews and hope. So additionally, the Earn While You Learn program may have secured more businesses to help with paid internships. We had a fabulous day with the NSB Museum of History Heritage Day, and I tucked in the VFW Family Fun Day, which was also Saturday. And then I volunteered at the Venerable Atlantic Center for the Arts Horse and Around fundraiser. Much fun and good fundraising. And that's it.
Okay, that's a lot. All right, thank you, ma'am. Commissioner McGurk.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say, I have nothing specific, but I wanted to say that as spring break winds down, I think that the small businesses in New Smyrna Beach had a wonderful spring. Weather was very nice, and the staff and police department and everybody did an amazing job again at making sure we got and sent the right message to the people and that we want here, which is families and people spending money and not teenagers running amok creating problems. And we have a very, very vibrant and healthy small business community. That's it.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Perrine.
Thank you. A lot to ponder tonight. We had a lot on our plates. There was something brought up tonight by a public audience that sparked my curiosity, and it was about the electric bikes. If we can actually pull that information for our staff to look into that. I've had several people question that to me. What are the rules? Why are they allowed on the sidewalks? Just all kinds of things that I don't have the answer to. And we don't have a lot of bike paths. I wish we had more. But the ones we do have, we need to know, are they being enforced? I've seen them go 25 miles an hour on that North Causeway bike path, and I don't know how that could be right. So I appreciate the person that came forward and brought that up. I think it's time for us to look into that.
Really good. Without objection, city staff, Mr. Manager, if you'd have the appropriate votes. I know Chief Kirk and his predecessor have both been on that, and they've got some ideas about how to fix that. Anything else?
No, I think that's enough for tonight. We're
Good.
pretty late.
Commissioner Ashley.
I would just like to highlight the lady who made a comment about Venetian Bay. Venetian Bay, the citizens, homeowners, and condo owners really need help out there. They don't know what to do with the upcoming transition. Nobody knows when the transition is going to happen from GeoSam to the homeowners, and I don't have any answers either. So I would certainly like to help the people that live out there, since I do too. And it's been on everybody's mind. The lady that mentioned the tiki bar and the pool, it was a private concern from the start. It still is a private concern, but it was used by most of the homeowners in the neighborhood. And so now that it's locked up, it's a real source of frustration. And I would like to come up with some solutions, but if there's any brainstorming that can happen, I would welcome that. Joe DeLubac mentioned a town hall. I wouldn't mind leading a town hall in Venetian Bay. And that's it for tonight. It was a very, very informative evening, and my brain is like overflowing.
Got it. Share that. So just to respond directly, the city attorney can probably instruct us about what the city's responsibilities and abilities are to influence people that are doing private development. If they violate the MDA, or they violate any of our LDRs, or they violate anything that they've agreed to, we can go after them. It's tough on private property. We see that stuff's going on at GeoSan, breaking my heart, and I wish we could do something. When people come up to me, I often say, I believe you have a civil case, and if you can find a lawyer that will take it, they won't take it unless they think they can win it. I think that's the best avenue. Have you got advice, Madam City Attorney?
Absolutely. If there are violations of the MDA, we do have a process through code compliance, but if it's, just changing the way of doing things, we can have conversations as partners, but we can't force that. And yes, a civil suit is always an option, which I believe is still going on with two of those two cases out there.
Thanks. I'm glad you brought that up. The city manager and I had the opportunity to go to Tallahassee this week for Volusia Days, put on by the various Chamber of Commerces in the area. It was powerful. We got to meet with Secretary of Commerce, DEP, Secretary of Building, Representative Chase Tremont from our district, Tom Wright, the Appropriations Committee Chair, Tom Leake, and we were able to ask them privately and directly to support our stormwater funding initiatives that are going on. We talked to them about, we're not asking for a park, we're not asking for a stadium, we're asking for remediation of people that are suffering in our town. And so, good Lord willing, those will make it into the budget. Mr. Cowper did an amazing job convincing them that that's what we're supposed to be doing, and that's why we were there. It was a very good time. The Chamber of Commerces were bolstered by the city manager being there and some electeds coming along and adding credibility to their business-oriented conversations. The bridge crash was a significant event. I'm hats off to the chief for all the spring break stuff, but Mr. City Manager, my Navy days, there are mass casualties drills that happen, and so bridges in Florida are hit from time to time by barges, rendering the city impassable. I think we had a similar event that happened to us this past week. So if you would do the due diligence with the chief and all the rescue people to figure out what our standard plan is for when that happens, so we can mitigate any of those type of activities going forward. People being immobilized for 3 hours or more and what have you was mayhem. You and I were not in the county at the time. It's unfortunate, but I know the chief had it under control. I would just like something a little more public, a little more structured. Attended the Stormwater Subcommittee. It's elected officials have a group of folks that are studying the stormwater with the county. And so we got to hear from the county engineer, Tad Kaber, and we're inviting, the manager and I are going to invite him to come speak to this group and our citizens about the county-wide plan, the interaction between every city and the county, and how this dovetailing is going to happen. It is a robust plan. I've seen it. I've heard it a couple times now. We also heard from the St. John's Water River Management professional engineer, and Carrie, she was amazing, but way over our head in the technical aspects of how that was going to go. She has a regular version of that that's suitable for public consumption. We'll get her to come back and talk to us about that as well. So what I wanted the public to know is that this is not being handled by New Smyrna Beach alone. This is being handled in a regional way, and we will do no harm to our neighbors, and we'll make sure that our neighbor cities do no harm to us, and that the county is shoulder to shoulder with us, and yes, digging out the canals, yes, the city is doing their part, and yes, we're forcing the HOAs to do their part. So everybody is pulling in the same direction, and we'll have a way forward on this that the public will be pleased with, I'm quite sure.
Mayor Cleveland, I have
Ma'am.
a question about that.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, thank you. The Ellison Acres, the public speakers that were here tonight, they're unincorporated. Would that be something that this
Part of
would
it.
help?
It's
with
part
that?
of it. Absolutely. And they need to hear that. They need to,
Okay,
the lady left as soon as she did her piece, but we need to make sure that they know that they're being serviced. They're not being blown off just because it hit the city limits. Water doesn't know city limits, and traffic doesn't know city limits, and so we're using a regional approach to that for sure.
Would it make a difference if that whole area actually annexed into the city, or is it better
Great
at this
question.
point?
I'll let the smart guys. That's a tremendous question. I don't think it matters for the amount of service they're going to get. I think the county's serious. The county gets more money than we do generally to do these things. Our trouble is exactly as Ms. Harris and others have said. The older parts of town have the worst infrastructure. They have the infrastructure from days gone by, and as we have changed as a climate, and as the cycles of rain have increased, and they will increase for a period of time, and then they will decrease for a period of time. But there are other factors at play. Those are the areas that we are asking specifically for fix-up money so we can fix the old infrastructure. The new stuff, our planning department did a great job on making the requirements tight. The engineers have really done a nice job of tightening it up. That doesn't help the old part of town. We got to fix the old part of town to the best of our ability, and that's what the county guys have pledged to do. We have the Easter Seals organization in our town. They bought a ranch out here to help autistic children. They had their annual fundraiser this past week. Amazing turnout and amazing time. It's called Boots and Pearls. If you get the chance to go out to that or donate to that sometime, it's worth your time. Similarly, I heard Commissioner Martin talking about Heritage Day. This building, 120 Sam's Avenue, most of the city doesn't know. It's 100 years old, and it's been everything from a post office for 40 years to a rec center with a pool table in it to the Utilities Commission, and now it's the Historic Museum. And so it's got a rich heritage. Greg Holbrook over there tells a great story. All of his stories are good, but he has a great piece about why that building is so special. You have the opportunity. Our museum is one of a kind. It's worth going to. The ACA, you heard Maestro North tonight. He's a composer. He's president of the ACA board. You heard him talk about the outreach to children in our community. That's going to be powerful. We're going to make the next generation of Mozarts and of Bernsteins right here in our town by bringing those Grammy Award-winning guys in to inspire those kids. Are you kidding me? That's going to be great. So I'm very excited to have attended their Horsing Around event, their annual fundraiser. And this is a shout out to Commissioner Martin. You know, the Vice Mayor goes to a lot of things. And when she's in for a pound. I watched her work that event over and over, she's a committed lady, and my hat's off to you. Thank you, Lisa, for making a difference wherever you go. Lastly is just kind of an inspirational thing. I think our job up here, and the manager's job, the attorney's job, and the clerk's job is to build the public trust. I think it got eroded a bit tonight with the debacle with the building department and the permitting organization, and we've got to fix that. We're not perfect. Mr. Cowper's been here 6 months. He's done amazing things, but we've got to get on the road to fixing some basic things about process around here, so that the public knows that we're stewards of the whole. We are property rights sensitive, and yet we are neighborhood sensitive, so that we get that right, and we don't have that one right. And so I hope we can turn that around so that we don't erode that trust further. That's a precious thing. It's earned slowly, and it evaporates quickly. Madam City Clerk, your report, ma'am. Anything?
No report at this time. Thank
Madam
you.
City Attorney.
Just briefly, we updated the legislative update with talking about when they're going to committees. Right now, the bills are circulating, so there's not a whole lot of news. Some tweaks are being made. Also, from the last meeting, the letter to Senator Wright and Representative Tremont, I provided a copy to each of you. That was provided in the online portal and via regular mail. So those are done.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that, Mr. Manager.
Nothing else, sir. Thank you.
Very good. Any by the ways? We're adjourned. 3 hours.